Check 1 2 and a check 1 2. Rabi Chowdhury, nice to see you, buddy. Okay, I'm just getting my stuff together here. I've been learning that I'm too close to my mic. Check, check, check. Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you all. Hopefully you guys can see me live here. Welcome. I am Dustin Cormier, and this is another episode of How to Rock Astrology. Congratulations, you have found the secret place of secret, cool, fun things. Now, today, of course, as you might have seen on our title, we are going to be digging into the lunar eclipse that is recently happening on March 3rd. And we are going to have fun doing it. We're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to see how it relates to you, your experience, and your chart with a free reading. I'm going to abide by the way I usually do these videos. Usually I begin with a free reading for one person at the beginning, and then we move into, usually we do a membership reading for one of our members who is present, and then at the very end we will move into probably a paid donation based reading if anybody is there and anybody wants to pay for a reading. So that will be available today. I'm just gonna give everybody a little bit of time to tune in, join in, and be a part of the scene that we are creating here today. It's been a little while. It's been kind of too long since I've gone on here and gone live, and I'm learning that, you know, I should put more notice when I'm coming live on my channel. But most people pick it up. Most people jump along and see what I'm doing and join the fray at some point. So I always like to give it a little bit of time so we can get more folks. So for now, I'm happy to be setting up my YouTube, setting up all my things. My phone hasn't allowed me to see my comments for a long time, and I think that's because I need to do something. I don't know what that is, but we're gonna figure it out eventually. But yes, it's been too long, hasn't it, Robbie? So, of course, today is another day of eclipse readings. And this eclipse is happening in the sign of tropical Virgo. This is, of course, the lunar eclipse, which had a little bit more... Both the eclipses that happened recently have an effect. So Ernst Wilhelm, whenever he does his eclipse readings, which is worth me mentioning here, actually, if you go on YouTube and you check out what's going on with Ernst. Okay, cool. Ernst Wilhelm. Hopefully you guys can see me here. Look up Ernst Wilhelm. Check out his most recent videos. Here we have the personal effects of the February 17th eclipse, and then the personal effects of the March 2026 lunar eclipse. And I recommend both of these for anybody interested in getting a deeper dive look at what's happening with these eclipses. Essentially, we can see the first eclipse would have happened when the moon fell into Aquarius, and that was on February 17th. The moon was falling here in the sign of Aquarius. At the very end of Aquarius, the moon and the sun came conjunct. And so if you have any placements or planets in the sign of Aquarius or Leo, or at the end of air signs, then this eclipse would have probably affected you. But the real spanker would have happened on the lunar eclipse next. I'm just checking out my comments here. Hello, Mo. Nice to see you, Monica. Yes, so as we can see here, I'm going to check my comments once in a while because my phone won't give them to me, and that really is something. Don't know why. I just wanted to do the thing. Ah, hey, we got him. Okay, that's new. Newly fixed. Okay, so yes, this is our current eclipse that we've recently gone through on February 17th. And Ernst talks a lot about how, you know, there's nothing really opposite this. This was a relatively clean eclipse. And, you know, Ernst has a whole thing talking about the original eclipse and its Saros cycle. Suffice to say, if you've got anything at these points, this eclipse would be affecting you more. But the eclipse that I have found is really rocking everybody's socks is the lunar eclipse that's happening on March 3rd. This is an eclipse that is affecting people kind of more strongly because there's so many planets in the axis involved. Of course, this is tropical Pisces and Virgo. We have Mars, the north node here in Pisces, and that's what's causing the eclipse. South node in Virgo. We have Mars, the Sun, and Mercury and Venus all wrapped up in the north node sign. And it's happening, the moon's eclipse is happening in the south node. So the moon being in Virgo is teaching us a lot about all things related to Virgo, especially if anything is falling into that around 14 degrees, 13, 14 degrees of Virgo in your chart. So this is the best thing to look for. Do you have things in tropical Pisces? Do you have things in tropical Virgo? Do you have things trine? And do you have anything in any earth signs that's really relevant and specific? These are the things that would be bringing out the exacerbated energy of this lunar eclipse. So that is sort of the main thing going on here, as can be expected from this eclipse season. So we're going to talk about it today, and we're going to, as we go along, we're going to mention it and discuss it with whoever's chart we end up reading first in this session. And I am excited for that. Now, the eclipses have been doing what they're doing. Again, really, for the solar eclipse on February 15th, there's been a vibration of really ramping up, choosing consciously. It's a solar eclipse. We're kind of consciously choosing and creating new things related to whatever Aquarius represents by house for you. It's a new cycle of building and initiating things that resonate with that placement, with tropical Aquarius. So for me, I'm a Leo rising in tropical Vedic astrology. So the eclipse, the solar eclipse happening in Aquarius, is going to resonate with my 7th house. Hello, student. Nice to see you. For you, it's going to be the same wherever Aquarius is falling, even if you have no planets there. There's an initiating energy going on with any solar eclipse, and it's in the same sign as Pluto. So whatever happened, whatever you might have gone through on the recent February 17th eclipse, you know, it's probably good for us to see what day that was. February 17th was a Tuesday, and the lunar eclipse also falls on a Tuesday. So on February 17th, you might have started to experience a little glimmer, a little wink of what can be expected from the eclipses happening later in this year, in August of 2026. Right? Because as you can see, this is the current eclipse. If we go up 30 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here, let's just back it up just one more 30 days. See if we can dial this in. So our first eclipse in August is going to be happening pretty much around 6 degrees of Leo, 6 degrees of Aquarius. It's far enough away from the eclipse that that's not really going to rock us too bad. It's probably more, and that's a lunar eclipse. let's check out what the solar eclipse is going to be more like. That makes more sense. So probably around August 12th, 2026, we're going to have a pretty wide orb eclipse in the sign of Leo. And, you know, there'll be even lunar eclipses that happen around that area around that time. This is probably going to be an even stronger one. So the lunar eclipse happens, of course, when the moon is opposite the sun. So this is actually a really strong one right here. Around August 28th, 27th, 28th, there's going to be a lunar eclipse falling technically still into Pisces, tropical Pisces. And then later on in the year, it's going to actually be falling into the Aquarius and Leo path. So these eclipses are starting to open up what's expected in August of 2026 of this year. We're inching our way into the next eclipse axis, which is going to be, again, tropical Aquarius and Leo. And that will be a different vibration. So keep these things in mind as we go along. The little winks of energy that we're experiencing now are going to dovetail into later narratives when the next eclipses come. The eclipses are very, very special, very important. The eclipses are essentially what happens when the Earth shows and radiates and profoundly brings out any lack of authenticity, any lack of honesty about the feelings in your body for what feels good and aligned with you. You know, we all, being human beings, we all want to be in a state of ecstasy. We all want to run around like children going, woo, and we want to run around and we want to jump across the street whenever we want to. And if we do so, we might get hit by a car. Society, therefore, has programmed us to remember, don't forget to look ways before you cross the street. It's a good thing, because if we didn't have that social program, we would be liable to get hit by a car. But as time goes on, we develop these social programs, and they stop the original ecstasy from coming through. Hello there, Amanda. Very nice to see you. So we are all in an original state of ecstatic bliss. Just like children. They see the world through pure eyes. They have no limiters, no blinders on how reality is. They see it for what it is. As time goes on, our parents, our teachers, our social reality programs us to be safe, to not be in this ecstasy, the state of ecstasy all the time. It's a good thing and a bad thing. You know, it's, as I often like to say, I've written in my books, you know, if we were all ecstatic all the time, we'd run around on the jungle floor and we'd probably get eaten by a tiger. And that's not conducive to us doing our taxes. So we can't be in this state of ecstasy all the time without some kind of social program. Now, when we move through these social programs, this programming, we have to sometimes, it's sometimes healthy and sane and appropriate for us to do what society says, to not run through, you know, not get hit by a car, to abide by what our parents teach us. But sometimes it's also good to remember, sometimes a situation is just incidental. You know, there's times where, you know, we have to lie for some reason to protect another person, and now we're always afraid to be honest. Yes, Manda, we are doing live readings today. I'm just taking a little, talking about the eclipses. There are times when things happen to us where we can't be honest, we can't be our authentic selves, and we burn that program into us right then and there. You know, something as simple as if you're talking to, you know, you're in high school or elementary school, you want to be accepted by your friends, but your friends all want to be a certain way. They want you to be cool. They want you to be just like us. And so you assimilate your behavior into the group paradigm in order to be accepted. Some parts of you, you might find that there's actually good parts of you in that new group mentality. It's good to let go of what you thought was your ecstasy and now to melt into the melting pot of the group. But there are some times when you lose authentic and essential parts of yourself when you come into that group. How do we know what to let go of and what to keep? The eclipse is one of our greatest ways of teaching us what to let go of and what to keep. Because if we've been melting on our essential identity, becoming one with the outside world, and we have forgotten things that are intrinsic to us, just like a gardener, you want to put them in a garden, and that's where they'll function best. You take a warrior, you want them to function the best, you put them on a battlefield. When you put a gardener in the battlefield, they're not going to take best advantage of their talents and their nature and their skills. So the eclipses teach us, how am I out of alignment with my nature? I'm a gardener, and I am not in a garden. My talents are not being appreciated. I'm grinding against my nature. And it's a waste of my time, my energy, and the universe's joy. Eclipses fester. Eclipses bring out the splinters, the shards of that experience. Makes us feel like we're not in alignment, and so it causes us great pain. Eclipses push us to have intense feelings that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And this is what's going to happen every time these eclipses happen. And this is what's expected from the solar eclipses as well as the lunar eclipses. The solar eclipses reflect how we're not living consciously in alignment with ourselves, and the lunar eclipses show how am I not building the environment, the life, the reality, the social group that I want to live. So this is the eclipses. It's a very important time. And especially if the eclipses are hitting important points in your chart, we can see how we have fallen out of alignment with the balance between soul and the reality outside. Right? If you understand the astronomy behind the eclipses, you know, the Earth obstructing something. In a solar eclipse, it's the moon that's kind of causing that to happen. Well, it's everything going in front of the sun. Whereas with lunar eclipses, obviously the moon is involved. It's the moon being opposite the sun. So each of them are going to be slightly different. Now I want to start talking about, let's start digging into it. We've been hanging out for a little while and talking about the eclipses. Now it's probably a good time for us to tune in, dial in, and see what we can talk about with relation to this eclipse. Now, before we start, I do have a little announcement to make. I'm going to start talking about this on my channel. I've wanted to drum up a little bit of time to kind of gather up some folks now. And now you guys all get to experience something new happening in my life. It is a change. It is a operational change that I've decided to take on, and I'm going to flow with it. And this is your first time hearing it from me on my channel. I'm going to start talking about it a whole awful lot. And that is, hey Maui Logic. Cool. Nice to see you, Maui Logic. Yes, I have a new announcement to make. I'm coming out of the closet, everybody. There's something happening in my life that I've decided to change, to transform, and I'm going to start bringing it out on my channel. The truth is that I'm gay. Nah, I'm just kidding. That's not what I mean, like, you guys know I'm bisexual, or like, you know, kind of a little bit of whatever. You guys know that already. That's not what I'm coming out about. I told Monica that I'd say that joke. No, there is an even crazier, deeper transformation, an actual change going on, not just the same thing that's been going on. And the truth is, the change that I'm moving through is that I am trying an experiment. And it seems to be tweaking my interest. It seems to be where I want to go. I'm somebody who wants to do good things for Guru, for the great Guru of the cosmos. That is the Jupiter that lives within all of us. If you guys have all been watching, in the tropical Vedic astrology world, there is a new frontier of knowledge and data to digest. And it is coming from Ernst Wilhelm. Yes, Ernst Wilhelm has been doing something that I am very intrigued by. I see it being a good, cool thing. I'm trying to adjust my microphone here. I think Ernst has the right way of going about things. Oh, I see. And what Ernst is doing is something called the solar adityas. You got it, Robbie. Robbie's always on the forefront of where my brain's going. Yes, Ernst Wilhelm is now practicing a particular type of astrology with a new theological basis, although it would probably be right for us to say that it's not necessarily new. Let's see. So, Ernst Wilhelm has an aditya calculator. So what you do is you go on Google. I'm going to let you guys be a part of this with me. You go on Google and you look up Aditya's calculator. And you can find a calculator that's going to bring up what your aditya placements look like and are. Now I'm going to put November 8th, 1991. You guys all know that this is my birth time. Canada would be continue. And so this is what the Adityas calculator looks like. It gives you all of the Adityas, their Rishis, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Yakshas, and Rakshasas. And if you've been following Ernst, these all relate to the planets in some ways. There is a flow to the chart. There is a meaning to all of the words, and there's even a relevance to the placement within the signs here. You'll notice in my chart I'm usually a Leo rising, but with Vivashvan rising, it puts me in the bottom corner here where Virgo usually is. So there's a few clues as to what the Aditya's chart ultimately looks like. And I am learning that there is a way to do it. There is a code. There is a logic to it. And I have delved in it enough to want to move forward with it. Yes, that's right. So, folks, let's start playing around with the Adityas. I'm going to do my best to follow through based on what I've learned. I've been studying it for a bit, and I feel confident enough that this is where I'm going at the present time, it seems to be. Like Ernst Wilhelm, I'm trying to focus strictly on the Adityas. So that's going to mean that when anybody sees me doing my live streams, I'm going to start doing them through the Adityas. If you've been wondering about what this Adityas thing is all about, now is your chance to start exploring and seeing how it feels. This is my first time doing this, and although I've been playing with it, but this is my first time unveiling it live. So let's start playing around with it and see what we can get out of this new dynamic of astrology. Now, I am noticing, check 1, 2, check, 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 check. Okay, that is doing it. I'm trying to make it so that my microphone doesn't bleep out on me. We have here our Adityas. Dun 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 dun. And I am going to move through in your chart what it means when the planets are falling into these adityas. And we're going to be doing astrology readings, just like I would typically do them. The truth is that in Ernst's system, all the adityas, you're using the same logic as astrology. The north and south node are relevant. All the aspects, all the Lajitadiya Vashtas, all the Shadbala, it's all equally relevant in this new system. You're just applying it to the aditya theology. So I want to start rolling with this. I want to start experimenting with it. So everybody here who's watching, we have 13 viewers today. And 2 or 3 of you are going to get a chance to experience your adityas being read for the first time here on How to Rock Astrology. Let's see how it goes and see how it feels. I want to make sure that I do this system justice. And for those who are interested in it, who want to get a sense of the theory behind it, it's really an emerging paradigm. So Ernst has encouraged me to point everybody at his work for these bottom line foundational theories. So if anybody is interested and wants to know how this is rolling, feel free to check out his work on astrology-videos.net. That's Ernst Wilhelm's website. Adityas differentiate what planets do in the different signs ruled by the same planet of benefit or disadvantage. The planets all still have there are rulerships among the adityas that resonate with the different beings. And I've still got to make sure that I've got those beings burned in my brain. Excuse the alliteration. Let me think for a sec here. I've got most of them in my brain. I've just got to make sure I got them. Adityas relate to the sun. Rishi, I've just got to... Give me one sec here. I know some of them off by heart. The Yakshas are Mercury. The Rakshasas are Saturn. The Naga, I believe, is the moon. 1, 2. And the Rishis, I believe, are Jupiter. That leaves the Gandharvas and Apsaras. I believe the Gandharva and Apsara. So each of these beings that are associated with every aditya has in itself a planetary resonance. For example, for Indra, we have Indra as the main aditya. Can you guys, of course you can't see what I'm looking at because I didn't share my screen. So this is just a little peek at Ernst Wilhelm's table for all of the adityas and their associated beings. So, for example, if anything important, for me, I'm Vivashvan. That's my ascendant, that's where it falls. Vivashvan has a Rishi that goes with Vivashvan. There's a Gandharva, an Apsara, a Naga, and all of these beings are going to relate to a planet. And there's this great interweaving of theology that happens with these adityas. So there are the adityas themselves are all sun beings. This is a solar-based astrology. Is he in relations with the other great Wilhelms of the world? Maybe. You never know. Ernst is a pretty great guy himself. So let's start playing with it, folks. Let's start moving into your first adityas reading. We have lots of people hanging with us now, lots of viewers. Who's here and who wants a live reading? Raise your hand, say hello. I'm interested in a reading. Don't put your birth time in yet, but let's just see who is interested in a reading. This first one's free for everybody. The second one we're going to do for our subscribers to my channel. So if you're interested in being a part of the second reading today, we're going to do what we usually do. Feel free to raise your hand, give us a little a little any kind of trinket that says hello and yes please. We have Senua. Let me get a piece of paper ready here. Senua. We have Monica. We have Rose, who's interested. We have Justin, who's interested. Our Maui Logic is alive and ready for a reading as well. So we have 5 people so far who are interested in a free live reading today. I'm sure everyone's going to come along, and if everyone wants to be a part of things. Jupiter exalting Venus related to one of the Adityas. Here is Dom. Hello, Dom. It's nice to see you. So, we might as well just move forward with this. Everyone who's watching, if you want a reading, feel free to put in your birth time now. We might as well. Let's do it. Instead of collecting names, it's pointless. We don't need to right now anyway. Everybody who's interested, put in your birth time, and we are going to count through the list, and we are going to pick our first reading. So it's birth date, birth time, and birthplace. If you can, yes, we ideally will use the ascendant as well. It really helps a lot in the system, because in the Aditya system, the planets are all in the same houses as the tropical Vedic system. You shall see when we start flowing with things here. So we've got Dom, Maui Logic, Monica, and Senua. So far we have 4 birth times, 5, 6 birth times. Alright, and if anybody has done a reading with me before with Tropical Vedic Astrology, you are open now to receive a whole new reading. So don't worry if you've already done a reading for me. This is going to be a reading that will have similarities, but it will have obvious differences. So if you're just watching now, we are now announcing this is our first reading of the day, folks. We haven't started yet. If you've just joined us, put your date, your name, if you want a free reading today. It's going to be about half an hour reading per person, depending. Put in your birth time now. Put in your birth date, put in your birthplace, and your name, and say hello. This is our historical first Aditya reading. Tantalnalina. It's nice to have you here as well. Anybody else, if you're joining now, feel free to put in your birth time, your birth date, your birthplace. This is our first Aditya's reading in history on my channel. I have learned enough of the code to at least be able to start experimenting with it. Tante Lena, very nice to see you. Okay, folks, so we've got a few folks here. If you're watching, again, speak now, forever hold your peace. It is time for us to do our first Aditya's reading. I just want to give everybody who's might be joining in a little bit of time to volunteer to put in your birth time. Hello there, Nasim. You're going to get a little taste if you get chosen. You're going to get a taste of the reading that you and I are going to do later. Because these are still lunar eclipse readings, folks. We're going to be doing the lunar eclipse reading through the Adityas. This is what we're planning on moving through here. If someone's coordinates of birth aren't close to any cities detected by Kala, they can drop their birth longitude and latitude. Yes, Robbie, you can do that. So if anybody's doesn't know their city, but they've got a city and it's nowhere on Kala's birth database, you can give me your coordinates, and I'd be happy to coordinate a reading for you. So we've got lots of people here. Nasim, I can see that you're here with us. And as well, Tante Lena. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 people who I have listed thus far, unless I'm missing anybody. I think that this is it. Oh, and Dom. Yeah, got it. Okay, folks, let's pick our first reading of the day. I've given everybody enough time, and now the time has come. We are going to begin at Sensua. Well, really, I got a list here, as we can see. It's probably hard to see it with the light. And I'm going to pick through the list, and whenever I pick a name, this person will be chosen. Robbie, my friend, are you interested in being on this list today? Let me know. Because I know, Robbie, sometimes you just enjoy supporting and being a part of the viewership of the reading. So, Robbie, if you are interested, let me know if you'd like to get a chance for a reading of your aditches today. Maybe not today. No problem, amigo. All right, we got 8 folks who have thrown in their name and are volunteering for a reading. Again, speak now, forever hold your peace. We keep getting some viewers who are coming in. If you want a reading, now is your chance to get a free chart reading of your aditches. Yes, we are practicing Ernst Wilhelm's aditches today, and seeing how we can accord what's in the aditches chart with an astrology reading. So, again, we already have 8 people on the list. If you're watching now, if you want to be on this list, now is your chance to get a free reading today on your aditches, the Ernst Wilhelm style of solar aditches. Going once, going twice. All right, I got to pick a name at some point, so I'm just going to roll with it here. I'm going to pick a number, let's say number 22. And I'm going to begin in the middle, and I'm going to go down. Now we are choosing. Yes, that's the word I'm going with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I have landed on my friend Tantalina. Tantalina, you have been chosen. Congratulations. Tantalina, are you with us, my friend? Are you ready for your first reading of the day? I got 1, I got 10,000 here, I want 2,000 here, 2,000 over here, 1,000, 3,000 sold to Tantalina. Very well done. There they be. Now, Tantalina, this is an experimental reading today. You are the first of many who will have now been chosen for a first aditches reading. Congratulations. Now, Tantalina, my friend, I'm not sure if you put your birth time in here. Looks like you did. Okay. We have our friend who was born in Bacău, Romania. So now, everybody, it is time to input our data. And I'm going to make sure I can see that data. All right, very good. This is our first reading of the day, folks, and there will be more. Now, let me just say this before we start. If you are interested, you can always go to my YouTube channel. You can go to view my channel, and you can see here there will be a little button that says join, and this is for joining with my membership, of course. If you are a channel member, you will get a chance to be a part of our second reading for the day. My channel readers always get priority in the second reading of the day. So if you want to be chosen for the next reading, feel free to join the membership, and you will get a chance to have another reading as the second reading of the day. But for now, we've chosen our first one. Tantalina, you have been chosen. Let's plug in Tantalina's birth information. Tukala. Let's see, we have Tantalina. And Tantalina is born on August 4th, 1973. Let's see, 1961 is the ox, so 1973 would be the water ox. So we have a water ox for our first reading. And Tantalina is born at 6:45 in the morning. I have a lot of oxes in my life, and I love their energy. Now, Tantalina, let me know, my friend, if you are interested. Let me know the gender that you identify with, if you could, Tantalina. If you are, I'm a very LGBTQ plus aligned ally, I would say. So if you identify with any pronoun, I'm game. Whatever you identify with. If you have an orientation towards bisexual or just regular heterosexual, okay, and if you're interested in women and men, this will also help us align what kind of energy you're seeking to align in your life. For now, we have Tantalina as a confirmed woman. Very good. So we have Tantalina as a lady. Let's go to Romania. Interested in men. Perfect. And the city was Bacău. So we've got quite a few Bacăus, it looks like. Bacăuni. We have Bacău. That's probably us right there. Let's see what that gives us. Oh yeah, so you're right on a cusp. Right there on a cusp. So let me just figure out our tropical zodiac here first. Tantalina, let me know, Tantalina, are you used to using a Virgo rising chart? The information that I've received from you from August 4th, 1973, 6:45 in the morning in Bacău, Romania. This would put you at the very beginning of Virgo in the tropical zodiac. Yes, Virgo rising. Okay, very good. So now let's just take a quick at Ernst Wilhelm's astrology calculator. And let's just take a quick peek of what this would look like in the official Aditya's chart. Hopefully you guys can see me here. I gotta make sure you guys are viewing what I'm doing. We have August 4th, 1973 at 6:45 in the morning. We have you in Romania, Bacău, and that should be close enough. Let's see if it gives us the same. Bacău. Okay, this makes more sense. So you are right deadly on that cusp. But if you're a Virgo rising in the tropical zodiac, that would correctly mean that your chart falls into Tvashta in the Aditya chart calculator. So the rising sign is in Tvashta with Venus here. We have Mars in the 8th house, Jupiter in the 6th house. So you'll notice that the first thing that we see here is that the planets are in the same houses as we recognize. And we're going to see that when we go into our Aditya's style of zodiac. We can see the planets are going to be in the same place. We see Mars is up here in the 8th house. Jupiter's down here in the 6th house. We have Rahu in the 5th house. And there's going to be resonances with each of these signs. Each of these signs, they do have a correlative suggestion. And this is where a lot of the information and understanding comes from. For now, it's useful for us to look at the Adityas through the typical way that we would see them here. What would be nice, yeah, I guess this is the best way for us to do it. Yeah. So this is my first time figuring out how I'm going to convey this information. As we can see, yes, Venus rules Taurus and Libra. That is correct. The rulerships, there is a rulership that correlates between both systems, but we're going to try to use the names of the planets in these adityas. So we have Tvashta rising. And this is, Tvashta is like Libra. It has a correlate with Libra. So this is almost a Venus that's falling into its own sign. And that's a happy Venus. So let's start picking away at the things that I would usually do in a reading. Let's now begin officially. If you guys are here and with me, this is our first Adityas reading. Now, what's probably relevant for us to do is to describe the basic things that I move through when I do a reading. And let's also get our timer going on here. Our clock is going to be, let's call it at least a half an hour, so that we know that we've at least gone for the time that would be typical here. Tantalina, my friend, this is our official beginning of your reading. Let's go for 30 minutes. The clock has started. I'm going to try to attend to this the way I usually would with a reading, and let's see how we go with it. And I thank you all for your patience while I get my shit together. Let's start moving through what we experience here. So, we have a Mars Atmakaraka. Of course, Mars Atmakaraka, this is a person who is ruled by the essence of Mars. And all the signs which are going to relate to Mars are going to be loudly emphasized in this person's chart. Of course, that means the sign of Vishnu, which is the second house from Tvashta. All things happening in the sign of Vishnu are going to be irrelevant. Vishnu, so Mars basically rules Vishnu and Datta. Vishnu is where we find the moon in this chart. Let me just make sure that I'm not insane. Yes. The moon in this chart falls into Vishnu. And like Scorpio, it resonates with a debilitated moon. As well, of course, we know that we have, again, I got to make sure you guys can see me. We have Pluto and Uranus here with the moon in this debilitated placement. And the moon is falling in the sign of Chitra, the nakshatra of Chitra. So we have Chitra nakshatra, moon. Let me just make sure that this isn't on a cusp. Nope, you are definitely Chitra moon, my friend. Mars Atmakaraka, Chitra moon, and in this system, this Mars is falling into the Navamsha of the Aditya of Indra. And that relates with the sun. So this is a Mars Atmakaraka with Aditya Indra as the Swamsha. Right? Remember, we have the Swamsha sign. And so this puts Indra as the Swamsha for this person. And this is highly relevant. Let's just take a quick peek at the chart here. This would be highly relevant to this person, yeah. So already we're painting an important picture where we have Saturn and Ketu and Mercury falling into the Aditya, which is the Swamsha. So just like what you're used to with me in tropical Vedic astrology, whenever planets are falling into the Swamsha, we're going to have a significant experience of that sign. This person is already, you actually have your south node in the same position that I do. And it's also your Swamsha. So there's a real picture being conveyed here of a very Indra person. Let's begin here. Let's start moving through a little bit what can be expected with the south node in Indra. We also have the Swamsha as Indra. Indra, again, it relates in a lot of ways to Leo. Indra is the Aditya among the Adityas. And so it's going to relate to leadership. This is a person who we can almost imagine if they had Leo Swamsha with the South Node in Leo. Since this is the Swamsha, this is a sign that this person is living to burn themselves into. It relates to the leadership qualities that we know from Leo. Indra is, again, the leader. Indra is the god that is ruling all of these other Adityas. And so this is a person who, like Leo, Swamsha, this is a person who we can expect to be a leader quality type of person. For Tanta Lena, we have lots of, what we would call, Mars can be male and female. Mars can relate a lot to the mother. This is a Mars-ruled Atmakarika person, so doing things related to Mars, building, being constructive, being logical, rational, and using it towards the purposes of Indra is what would be most important for this person. See, Adam, no worries, my friend. The South Node in Indra, when we have the South Node inside the Swamsha, there is a... Remember, this is South Node in the Swamsha. This means that this person, throughout their early part of their life, is going to try to become this Swamsha. They're going to try to emphasize this sign of Indra. And this means that this is a person who wants to be this type of leader. Now, I also have the South Node in Indra. And the energy relates with almost being obsessively addicted to being an Indra type of person, to being like a Leo. This is, in a lot of ways, I would say this is where I get my Leo energy. Hi, I'm this Leo. I like to bounce around and be this important, amazing person. I'm trying to save the world over here with all the things that I'm trying to do. With the South Node in Indra, it takes you away from the earthiness of the Rakshastra, Pushan. Pushan resonates with Aquarius. Pushan is the one who is helping everybody, who is a server, who is the water bearer. There's a real connection of the North Node being in Aquarius, being in Pushan, to being in Aquarius. So the North Node in Pushan is going to have this energy of being aware of everybody else around them, being aware of their community. The tricky thing for someone with the South Node in Indra, what we can expect from this is somebody who, it can be a little bit too self-oriented. This is somebody who has so much emphasis on this Leo energy, this Indra energy, this leadership quality, that they forget how to be a human. They forget how to roll their shoulders back, hang out, and hang out with their friends. This is somebody who can take the world on their shoulders. And especially with it being in the 11th house, as we can see, for Tvasta rising, Indra is in the 11th house, right? Just like how Leo is in the 11th from Libra. With Leo, with Ketu falling in the 11th house of Indra, the South Node in Indra theme is going to move through an 11th house energy. This is somebody who wants to be seen and recognized for the glory that they do. Somebody who wants to be recognized for their work. They want to be seen shining. They want to be the Leo. They want to be the sun. They want to be a leader. But they won't fully be able to be this leader until they can be as low as everybody else. They need to be able to serve. They need to be able to drop the feeling that I am carrying this world. And integrating Pushan, Aquarian energy of Saturn, the Rakshasa, and the 5th house is going to help bring this person into this. So, Our friend Tantalina here is born in 1973. You'll have to excuse me, Tantalina, for age dropping you here. It's usually very relevant for us when we're doing this kind of work. Let's see, so I've probably got it here. Our friend Tantalina is, it looks like you would have turned 52 in 2025. So you would be 52 now, turning 53. This is a very relevant time because, again, Leo is going to resonate with Indra, and that means that at the present time, our friend Tantalina is going through the sun period at age 50. At age 50, we begin the sun period. I've talked about this many times in my channel. We begin life with, I'll put it this way, we begin life with the Venus era from age 12 to age 32. Is the ages, the periods of the grahas. We begin with Venus from age 12 to, we hit puberty at age 12. And then we start wandering into the rest of our lives. 12, we go through puberty. And it's Venus. It's ooey gooey kissy kissing, I love you, I love you. We want to absorb the energy of the sweetness of Venus, of Shukra. From age 12 to 32, this is what we're experiencing. Then at age 32, this is when we have the lunch. This is when we have the real meal that is going to sustain us and stir us along in life. And so what happened with from age 32 to age 50 is going to depend on what's going on with Jupiter in the chart. And this is us gathering sticks for the big fire. Right? Just like everybody, the Jupiter period from age 32 to 50 is us preparing for the final act, for the true meaning of our lives, which is really what sets off from age 50 to age 70. This is when the flower of life has bloomed. All the kids are gone to school. You have now, you're the wisest you're ever going to be while also having the most energy. So this is the shit or get off the pot moment. When 50 starts, you're now officially done everything that you can do that's narrowed you down to the person that you truly are. Now, for this person, for Tantalina, I hope I'm getting that name correct, Tantalina, yes. For Tantalina, this is an important time now, because now the Indra space is truly deeply opening up. And all of the things falling into the sign of Indra are deeply opening up. We actually have an interesting, and this is worth us going through, we have an important Parivartana yoga happening. We have Mercury in Indra, which is the sign ruled by the sun. We have the sun in Vivashvan, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in Indra, the sun is in Vivashvan. That means that the sun and Mercury are in a Parivartana yoga. Again, we can imagine this is Mercury in Leo and the sun in Virgo. So this is something worth moving through. And I'm going to, what we can really even see is that for Tantalina, there was probably something relevant that happened to Tantalina at the age of 3 to 12. That's the Mercury period. Something would have happened there to set you up with your parents guiding you, talking with you about what is going on with your life. And it's worth mentioning that this Mercury is shamed, actually. We have Ketu and a malefic here with Mercury. And that means we have a shamed Mercury in the sign of Indra. This would be very relevant. This goes to show that for Tantalina, it's likely that your parents or some kind of authority figure probably gave you a sense of a Saturn shaming Mercury. Saturn shaming Mercury is going to make you feel like your parents, they don't have enough time to listen to you. From age 3 to 12, you might have felt like your voice was quieted, Tantalina. You might have lived in a household where children were seen and not heard, as the old phrase goes. Excuse me. I'm just getting my my chat back up here. Somebody with a shamed Mercury usually lives in a household where children are seen and not heard. You know, so be quiet. We don't want it. You're frustrating the adults. Mercury shamed is going to bring this kind of energy. Happening especially in the sign of Leo is going to really bring out some of this consciousness. So you were completely alone. Remember, this is from age 3 to 12 is where we would have really seen this coming along. From age 3 to 12, you might have had this experience of being completely alone. This does make sense. Single child between books. So no siblings then. So this is something that we can see with Mercury. You might have even had the experience that your parents didn't have the resources to have more kids. Perhaps they didn't have the resources or the time to spend time nurturing your talents, your skills. Usually at age 3 to 12, it's buddhi. This is the time of Siddhartha, to walk around and see all that I have available to me. I want to walk outside the castle grounds. I want to see everything that I can do. This is Mercury's game. Mercury and the yakshas is an important, you know, Mercury's whole thing is exploring everything that I am through my throat chakra. Your parents didn't want kids, and you felt like an alien. This would crush the Mercury experience, but it also would crush the Leo experience. Might have made you feel like you aren't Indra. And likely from this experience, Tantalina, you might have felt like, I need to prove myself to everybody. I need to show the world that I am something special. It's very interesting that you were popular at school, because we do have here, again, I'm going to make sure you guys can see me here. You know, that all of this stuff is happening in the 11th house. And so the fame that you might have, the popularity you might have experienced at school might have been a sort of, it could have been almost like a compensation. In the 11th house, you might have been somebody who was trying to shine as something that's important, as somebody who's not a nobody, somebody who's a somebody. And it's cool that you were reading and writing all the time. You know, it's interesting that you've got this sort of emphasis of the importance of Mercury in your chart. Mercury ruling your 9th and 12th house, rather. For Tvashta rising, Mercury rules the Yaksha signs of Mitra and Vivashvan, which is your 9th and 12th house. So this Mercury theme of writing, everybody liked your writings. And your writings are obviously must have been a part of your experience here. Although there was probably a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure to whatever I'm good at, I want to push myself to be very good at this thing. And you might have felt like whatever you can hold on to is that thing, might have been scarce. This is the kind of thing that we can see with Saturn shaming any planet. There would be a feeling of scarcity. Since Mercury rules the 12th house and the 9th house, there's probably also an experience of missing out on spirituality. Possibly the popularity that you had might have made you feel like, oh, I'm popular, everyone likes me for this thing that I'm doing, but your parents might not have supported whatever that thing is. In this case, writing. Or in this case, feeling like you believe in your writing. You believe in the art that you do, that you progress on. And this feeling of everybody shaming you would be bringing out this Indra theme of, I can't shine, I can't be a leader. And it's ironic that throughout your life, you probably have been pushing yourself, Tantalina, to be this Indra, to be this leader type person. And that's why there would be elements of your experience that would burn that out a little bit. It can cause a person not to, again, to lack Aquarian values of Kushan, of hanging out with everybody, and, you know, because of this theme in childhood, that I have to be somebody. It probably means Tantalina is always on. South Node in Indra. Tantalina is always on. And especially if you're around friends, in a friend circle, you might have a little bit of this like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey kind of complex, which can mean I always have to shine, I always have to be on, I always have to show everybody that I am something special and significant. And by trying so hard to be special and significant all the time, it actually deteriorates your energy. It deteriorates your vitality. It makes you feel, again, this is a very great example. You know, Indra and Pushan axis, just like Leo and Aquarius. There is a need to understand how a lion works. Now, a lion is the king of the jungle, of its own realm. It knows what it's good at. It knows what side its bread is buttered on. And when there's no problems with Leo, a person just has a natural understanding that I'm good at these things, and I can do them, and I have nothing to prove to anyone. That's an important phrase for the South Node in Leo and the South Node in Indra. I have nothing to prove to anyone. When you can embrace that anonymity, when you can embrace being anonymous in this way, it allows you to shine as the Leo that you want to shine as. But it's going to take a lot of unconscious work to get to a place where you can do what you're born to do without, again, that compensation. I need to prove it to everybody. You know, when you think of a good musician who just plays and they eat and drink their instrument. They do it all the time. So when you want to be good at your instrument, if you're doing it just to show off to everybody, there's a nervousness. I better not fail, and everybody better see me as good. And this can produce greatness. But the best musicians are not nervous to be doing what they're doing. They're not trying to prove to everybody that they're at this status, that they're at this place where they're not holding a belt, you know? They are already good at what they do. They're already natural at it. And they don't have to prove it to anybody. Now for you, my friend, at the age that you are in the period of the sun. The sun is, all your planets are actually pretty happy-chappy in Shadbala in terms of this Aditya's reading. Saturn is the one planet that's getting really chewed up by being in the sign of Indra. Thankfully, it's gaining a lot of good from Mercury. Saturn is starved by the sun quite strongly, and it's also got a little bit of an aspect from the moon, kind of like that sort of, technically sort of like a trine aspect from the moon. Saturn is hurting a little bit in this chart, and this would make it tough. This would be tough to be Aquarian. Saturn is going to make it, not only coupled with the fact that Mercury is having the trouble that it is in the chart. Saturn in this chart is going to make it difficult to roll your shoulders back and be a normal human being. That you live in Berlin now wouldn't necessarily change. I mean, if it was a better place for you, then that is relevant. I'm glad to hear that you've moved to Berlin, and I'm hoping that this would have been a positive change for you. So Tantalina, you know, coming into the age of the sun, it would be important for you, again now, to shine in whatever it is that you are good at. Now, you ended up being a teacher, and you said that it was a good fit. And that's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. With your Jupiter, thankfully your Jupiter is in the sign of, what would that be? Gotta get my shit together here. Parjanya. With Jupiter in the sign of Parjanya, it resonates with Pisces, with a Jupiter that's in its own sign. You're probably somebody who has spent a lot of time joyously dealing with debt, dealing with issues, resolving issues for people. That might be the type of teacher that you are. It's like Jupiter in the 6th house that we can kind of see here. But ultimately, the big deal for this person is that there is a need to integrate Saturn through Pushan. And that is something that is going to make the lion feel like I have something solid built for myself that I can contribute to in society. Now you're a spiritual counselor. Wonderful. And writing books. You know, Indra is going to relate a lot to spirit. So you might find, just like I'm also Indra South Node. So I'm out here, just like you are, if I'm reading you correctly. There is a need to, spirituality, it doesn't necessarily need to mean death. It's really knowing that death permeates all reality. And Saturn relates to death. So there is an indication here for us with South Node and Indra, a need to accept death. Accept that we are going to die one day. Which means the life that we live now is special and important. But it's an ironic thing. Somebody with the South Node in Indra understands death, that it becomes attracted to them. They experience it inside themselves, almost in a Jim Morrison way. Like there's a fascination with death and the fact that we're all going to die someday. But this can cause the Leo to say, I need to do a lot because I'm going to die someday. We think, oh, I'm as this Indra person, I know all about death. I know death is coming, which means I have to live my life to the fullest. And this type of person can really, like, I've got to get it all in here because I'm going to die someday. But again, that gets in the way of the living. When you're with a relationship, it doesn't need to be that intense, for example. But South Node in Indra, especially with the shame going on in the sign of Indra in this chart, there can be an intensity regarding communication. There can be an intensity in self-value and feeling calm enough to actually enjoy the relationship, to actually get down to earth and to treat people in a mutual relationship. South Node in Indra can be very self-oriented. I need to do what I need to do for me, for my kingdom, in order that I can survive. And also they want all their subjects, all the people in their lives to survive as well. But again, this can become overblown. It's like it's a person who needs to take control and say, I'm controlling everything. I am making sure everything is okay in my life and everybody else's life. And it doesn't give you a chance to actually let other people be a part of building your kingdom. You might find it difficult. You might find it shameful. You might find that because of your childhood and the way that you weren't allowed to use your voice, that you landed in a life that doesn't expand your power. It doesn't expand your capacities and your abilities. Because the South Node is in Indra in this way, with all this choking of Mercury and the shame in Mercury in that spot, you'd find your voice, your ability to explore. Remember, Mercury thinks sideways. It goes around exploring everything it wants to explore and to be. And because you were limited in this Mercury, this, asking Dad when you were 3, 5, 7, 8 years old, hey Dad, I want to be a painter. I want to do ballet. I want to be an artist. I want to be a writer. I want to be a teacher. You might have wanted to talk about these things, or maybe there was something else you wanted to be and explore and talk about, especially with regards to religion and spirituality. Because for Tvashta rising, Mercury rules the 9th house and the 12th house. So for this Tvashta rising person, having Mercury starved and shamed, can show that it's difficult for you to enjoy religion, to flow with it, to talk about it, and to talk about my spirituality, my culture. You might even feel yucky about talking with your father and your mother about your culture, about your religion, about your ethics. And it might be hard for you to feel like you're getting gurus or people who are guiding you in the right way. And the 11th house signification, having this shame in Indra in the 11th house, really goes to show that your fame, the thing that you're known for, is probably agitating this theme even more. So it's good to just be creative for creativity's sake, not necessarily to get you further in your life, to further your career, to further your goals, to further your personal attainments. You see, someone with the South Node in Indra in the 11th house is self-oriented, and they have an agenda whenever they do creative things with another person. So it's like, I see you as an object. And I have this South Node in Leo too, so I can do a bit of this, but especially in the 11th house. I see this person as an object. It's like, you know, I play guitar and I find a bass player. And I want to create a band with all my songs and all these things that I want to save the world with and this message that I want to portray. And I find this bass player. Hey man, do you want to join me for my thing? I'll let you do a little bit, but ultimately this is my gig. And I'm the one who's going to have control of how this is going to go down. And the person says, yeah, I'd like to be a part of that. Eventually, though, I'm not really in a band with that bass player. I'm just hiring them as a lackey. And I'm even writing my own songs, and I might be careful with sharing the, I might even share the spoils. But I want everybody to know that this is my band, which means I'm kind of using that other person. I'm not allowing them to contribute in the way that they want to contribute. This is a hard thing for an Indra person to hear when they aren't actually being subject to their servants, because a good king is only good if their servants and subjects are happy and satisfied. That's our half an hour mark. So it's important for this person to not get too wrapped up in your intimate relationships. This would happen with the South Node in Indra, is treating the other person as an object again. I'm looking to get this out of you. And as long as that person is giving you what the Leo wants, what the Sun wants, what you want, and helps to build your kingdom, you will associate with them. The problem is that if other people feel they're being used, then, and if they can't build their kingdom with you and through you, in a mutual kingdom where we're all sovereign kings and queens, if someone senses that you're not doing that equally with them, then they are going to abandon you eventually. They're going to run out on you, and you're going to be confused, because this was the deal from the whole beginning, is that I had these ideas and you could contribute to them this way, and this is the agenda that I had, and you seem to agree with it all. Because people, right, this can be the experience, is that your partner is a subject to your kingdom. Whereas in reality, your partner is also a king and queen inside of their own nervous system, inside of their own energy field. And so, if you want to truly shine like Indra, the great Aditya, like the sun, if you truly want to shine like the sun, it is important for you to practice relationship hygiene and to ask the people in your lives who are helping you to build your kingdom, how you doing? Are you getting what you want out of this situation? And you actually have to ask them. It's like a dog whisperer. If we have a dog, and it's like, what's going on? What's going on? And the dog's just like, and it gives you no exact signals. It's just like, what, you got to go pee? Huh? You want some food? What do you want? You say all these things, and it's like, it's either they got to go to the bathroom or they need food. So open the door. You don't got to go to the bathroom? No. Give us some food. It's got to be one of those two. So if you're still making noise, I've done what I got to do. So, figure it out. You've got everything you need. But a true dog whisperer can not just, they don't have this agenda. Like, I'm not looking to get the dog out of the way. I'm not trying to just deal with the dog. I'm trying to actually whisper, like, what does this dog want? And so you have to listen. And the dog sometimes doesn't even know what it wants. But this is what you might feel this way in your relationships. Is like, look, one of these things has got to fix what's bugging you. we've been in a relationship for 2 years, and these are the things I've always done to make you happy. So which one do I got to do? Huh? Do I got to blow some balloons? You know, do I got to rub your feet? Do you want to have a sexy time? You know, do you want to go on a date? You know, these are the things we've always done. Come on, what is the thing that you want? And this is me demanding of this other person, what do you want? Instead of, you know, actually asking them. The person looks like you're just trying to get their desires out of the way so that we can continue on being in this relationship and helping you. Now, I'm burning my own boots by saying all this because I've recently learned that I also have the South Node in Indra. This is the vibration of Indra, as he's the ruler of everything. And he is so important that he doesn't actually have the time to listen to everybody else's role in their own lives. And the ironic part is that you might have probably learned this, Tatalina. I hope I'm not, you know, burning you too bad here, because this is the theme that's set up. But remember, in your life, you are now at 52 years old, turning 53. You've gone through your North Node maturation when you were in your 40s. Then at age 48, K2 matures. So you are now at the place where you can understand other people's role. And you can be a good king by making sure that all of the people who support your role feel like they are kings in their own right. You've probably been learning to do this. There's still probably karma there to learn and to understand and to move through here. And so, as you're now in the sun period, you're age 52, it's important for you to shine like the sun. And the best way for you to do it is to remember to invite people to be a part of your kingdom, to actually ask them, what can we build together in an Aquarian way? Specifically for you, this is the North Node, again, in the 5th house. So, Tantalina, having that North Node in the 5th house is going to draw you to actually be creative with other people. And you have an intelligence, you have an inherent intelligence that you can apply and enjoy. But this will take Saturn. It'll take a lot to, basically you've got to let go of how busy you are in your own world. And be okay with being lazy, letting time go by, reducing your compulsion, and being present with whoever wants to be in your life. Now, we could read the Parivartana here too, and that would be worth reading, but we've gone quite a bit with this reading already. The main thing I wanted to focus on was the South Node in the sign of Indra, and let's also mention here that the eclipse that you would have experienced, in this system, the eclipse happened actually in Tvashta, which is your rising sign, right on top of your Venus. And your Venus is in a happy place. Venus is in its own sign of Tvashta, as we can see. Tvashta relates with Libra. So this Venus in the 1st house would have really pushed you at some deep level to experience all the things related to the eclipse, which is the feeling of having mutual sustainability. This probably would have been really brought to the fore at this point in your life, where, as we've talked about, the South Node in Indra can kind of be self-oriented, but they also put in a lot of sacrifice. You know, nobody sees the work that the South Node in Indra person does to keep everyone's lives together. It's almost impossible to account for it all. But you have to make sure that your relationships are sustainable. And this is what this recent eclipse in the sign of Tvashta is teaching us. Tvashta is always about building a life with mutuality. So you might be a person who's very good at this, with your Venus placed the way it is in the sign of Tvashta. But still, that eclipse happened right on your Venus in your 1st house. Just like how it would have fallen into Virgo in the tropical zodiac. It's falling into Tvashta, your 1st house in the Aditya zodiac. So keep in mind that the theme of are my relationships sustainable? In this eclipse, we're going to talk about it. I should have talked about it more, but I wanted to get a theme for that last reading going. But the eclipse is happening in two ways. Number one, where am I being parasited from? In this case, you might feel like you put in a lot of work into your art, into your writing, into your bosses, into the people who you produce work for. And you might feel like it's not giving you back what you put in. Thank you, Monica. I'm glad that you've been enjoying it. For all of us with this eclipse, I'll say this now and then we'll do a bathroom break. Two things are happening. Number one, we're being parasited from, or we are being a parasite to others. So you, Tantalina, try to think about, where are my relationships unfair and unsustainable? Where do I give and give and give, but the other people don't respect and appreciate the work that I put in? And on the other hand, where do I receive emotional energy? This is the yucky one for the South Node in Leo. So we put a lot of energetic energy out there, and people don't appreciate it. It's not seen. So you had a lot of breakups lately. It's a clean slate feeling. Remember, during these eclipses, it can bring this kind of energy, relationship energy, a lunar eclipse especially. So remember, for all of us going through this eclipse right now, the main theme, especially if you've got planets falling in tropical Virgo or tropical Pisces, it's the feeling that I'm being drained. For this Indra person, the feeling would certainly be that I put all this energy out here and nobody appreciates it. It's probably because you aren't seeing into how they would appreciate it. You're not letting them in. You're not talking with them about how do we make this equal. Right? Is somebody reading my mind? I'm definitely going for some dark chocolate soon. And this theme of the parasitism going one way or the other is what we're going to explore in these eclipse readings as we go along. So, Tantalina, I hope that this has felt relevant for you. Feel free to email me if you're interested in going further with this. Anybody can email me by going to... Oh, I've got to get my thing and I don't have it. Cool. Awesome, Tantalina. Thank you so much, Tantalina. Let's call this one a day. This is our first reading of our Adityas readings. And if anybody is interested in exploring this more, I recommend that you check out Ernst Wilhelm, check out his site, and see what he is doing and moving through. Amazing, Tantalina. I'm glad that this was relevant for you. There's a Parivartana yoga going on there that'd be worth talking about. But for this reading, I'm glad that we got to do this today. Check out Ernst Wilhelm for more on the Adityas, because this is where I'm going, folks. This is the next thing that I'm doing in my life. So for anybody who is interested, feel free to email me at astrology@dustincormier.com. You can email me at dustincormier.com, and there you will be able to get a reading from me. And God bless Monica, she's already on it. So if anybody's interested, I do have a PayPal. You can go to it by this little dustincormier.com, dustincormierofficial.com/GitHub. You can see it in the comments there. That would be what you can click on in order to give me a donation for the work that I do here. It's always appreciated, never expected. Now, the book that I'm reading from is probably this one that you're thinking of. This is Parivartana Yoga by Alan Anand. And the reason, just to show you why I brought this up, Tantalina, is because, again, in your chart, we have the sun is in Mercury's sign, and Mercury is in the sun sign in your Adityas chart. The sun is in Vivashvan, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is in Indra, ruled by the sun. So that means that you have a Parivartana yoga going on between the 11th and 12th Lord, which is very relevant to you because you are Indra Swamsha, and because you have the South Node with all this stuff going on in Indra, it would be a very relevant reading. So whether you see me next time on my channel and we'll dig into it more, or you can email me. Of course, everybody, for those who are interested, I am doing Eclipse readings right now at a discount. It's 25 bucks for a half an hour, and then 45 bucks for a power hour. And if you want to email me for a power hour reading on your Adityas, or just the, the eclipses in general, it'd be 45 bucks. It's like 15% off or something like that. 25, something like that. And I will spend 10 minutes digesting your chart. So I'll be ready to give you a good reading at that time for an hour's reading using this Aditya process. If you're interested in that, email me at astrology@dustincormier.com. And as well, you can click on this little button in the comments to throw me a donation if you should feel like it. I'm very happy to be unfolding this stuff for Ernst Wilhelm. I really believe in my teacher's work, and it's going to feel awkward a little bit moving through this new understanding, but I'm following my teacher's nose and getting good data out of it. So I hope you guys all join me on this journey and see and feel and experience what it's like to have these Adityas readings. Now, let's do a bathroom break. Thank you very much, Tante Lena. Golfer's clap. Very well done. Thank you for talking with me as we were going along, letting us know some clues as to how the reading was relevant to you. I'm very glad to have heard it from you. Thanks everybody for watching. Now, we've got another reading to come, and I've got to go to the bathroom. But before I do, the next reading, everybody, is going to be for channel members. So, if you want a reading on your Adityas, the next reading is going to be to channel members only. So what you want to do is you go onto my website, How to Rock Astrology, on my YouTube channel rather, and you're going to go to our membership. It's $3 a month, and if you join, you get a whole bunch of fun little stickers or post thingies. You'll show if you've been a member and how long you've been a member. As you can see, some people like Monica, somebody like Monica, she's got this little plant growing beside her name, and that's because she's been on my channel for a long time, and she's been supporting me for a long time. As well, if you join in the membership, you'll get a chance to be first in line for membership readings like we're about to do. Every time I do a live reading, we do a free one, we do a channel membership reading, and then we do a donation-based reading if anyone feels like it. For now, let's do a bathroom break, and when we come back, we're going to go into our next reading for the day. See you guys in a bit. Bonjour. Hello, everybody. Sorry for the wait. That was a very important bathroom break. We are back and we're live. Hello, Amanda. Hello, Zoe Frank. So nice to have you folks joining to become a member. Yes, folks, you heard correct. This is our membership round. Now, today we will be doing readings for those who are members and who have just become members. And I thank everybody for being a part of the game. Yeah, my background looks like a bunch of little creepy little bat eyes. I love it and I know it to be true. I'm going to start using this sort of background when I'm doing my videos. And hopefully it looks nicely put together. So, let's just see. All right, so it's nice to have everybody here. Now, this next reading, everybody, is going to be for those who have a confirmed channel membership on my channel. I know we've got a few people. We have 2 who just joined in the membership. The membership costs $3 a month. And with that $3 a month, you're supporting me in doing the work that I'm doing for Tropical Vedic Astrology and for Ernst Wilhelm's Aditya's Circle. And you will be allowing me to do what I do here, and it's highly appreciated. As well, when you join with the membership, you get a chance on being the second reader on days like today when I do these live readings. So now, for everybody here who is a member, you will get a chance at this Aditya's reading. Hello, Hosianov. We have another member here as well. Thank you for joining. And again, folks, if you are interested in joining the channel and getting a chance at this reading today, again, it costs $3 per month, and you can join by going to my channel, finding the join button. You would hit join, and you would join this channel as a fellow neuronaut. And by joining with that $3 a month, you get a chance for a reading just like we have today. Shaking the encrustment from one's pineal gland is definitely never a bad thing. I do my own things to shake up my pineal gland when I can. You know, I do a lot of Kriya yoga and a lot of stuff where you focus energy on the third eye, you shuttle energy up the spine, hold it at the third eye, and then you release the energy. You almost even like release your eyebrows and the tension of your eyebrows as you let the energy gooily fall down to your root. And it is good to shake up the pineal gland, as Maui Logic has stated. So thank you, Robbie, my friend, as always, checking out the ground control here. Yes, we do have new members, Manda, Hosianov, and as well as Zoe Frank. Very glad to have you guys here. So, now let's get a reading here. I know we just have 3 new members. Who here is a member and who is interested in getting a reading today? Feel free to raise your hand, show us a little Pluto symbol or any of the little planets that you gained by joining. I should memorize what the codes are. I think it's like Astro... Let's see. It's something like... Do I have them? Astro... Soul... Okay, cool. Astro... Yeah, you guys got the sun, the moon in here. Neato. Well, anyway, you guys can see that we have our own little stickers here. I gotta figure out what they are. Someone's probably got the code. But I digress. Oh, I guess they're right here on my own chat. Astro Luna, Astro Sol. So we have Melody. We have Manda here, who is interested in a reading. Anybody else who is interested in an Aditya's reading? We have Hosianov. Good. So we have Melody, Manda, and Hosianov, who are thus far interested in being our channel membership reading for the day. Yeah, so congratulations for having a chance. Of course I knew Monica. I was hoping Monica would join in here. Monica now has a chance for our second reading of the day as well. Come one, come all. The now is time. The time is now. And so, for sure, we have 4 people. We have Melody, Amanda, Monica, some 3 M's, as well as Hosianov, who are available for a channel membership reading today. So again, if anybody is interested, you can join our channel membership, which is again $3 per month. You would go on my channel and you would click on the join button, and that's how you would join the channel membership. And this would give you a chance for a reading such as we're about to do here. So we have 4 people who are lined up to have our new Aditya's reading today. Now, I think that we've given enough time. We still have plenty of folks here. And as this is a membership-specific reading, we're going to pick one of these 4 who have joined us and have raised their hands to volunteer for this membership reading today. So I say we just jump right into it. I think we have enough people here who know what's going on. Melody, Amanda, and Monica, and Hosianov. I'm going to pick a number. Let's say we have an odd number, even number of people. I'm going to pick an odd number like 27. 27 is a good number. It's 9 by 9. I'm going to begin at the 3rd person in, and I'm just going to cycle my way down. Okay, so let's count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. I believe that this is somebody who... Nope, this is our friend who has been here for quite a long time, being a part of this reading. You know, I want to ask, because Zoe Frank, I know I just did a reading for you. I wouldn't mind having you as a part of this. Zoe Frank, if you're still here, let me know before I choose. Do you want another extra reading on top of the one? I know I just recently did one for you. But you just joined as a member. You deserve to be a part of the roll call here, if you should so feel like it. It would still be good to read your chart to all these people involved. That would just mean that I would count again. Yeah, Zoe Frank, you're in? Okay. You just joined as a member, so I should have thrown you in there as well. Okay, good. All right, Zoe. I'm going to recount. I'm going to start at 27, and I've got included a new person in here. Let's see where it takes us. Again, I'm going to begin with I'm going to go with the number 27. Let's see where we land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Wonderful. So we have landed on yet another person, different from who I originally was going to pick. This is somebody who has been supporting my channel for a long time, and I'm very glad for this person to be getting the reading today. My friend, Monica. Monica, are you still here with us? Monica, you now have been chosen to be our next contestant on the show, and to get your first, at least what I would assume to be your first Aditya's reading from me, anyway. Monica, that's Mo Lee 83. Are you here with us, Monica, my friend? I will give her a moment to digest and see if she is live with us still. Drum roll. Monica, are you present with us? Yes, Monica is present. Congratulations, my friend. You have been chosen to get a reading through the Adityas. I'm very glad to be doing it for you, my friend. And of course, Monica is a channel member. And this is why Monica was chosen amongst 5 channel members today to be getting this reading. Now, at the very end of this, folks, if you guys are still here and still interested, and if somebody really wants an Adityas reading, I am going to offer a donation-based reading at the end of this for, I think I'll shoot for $30 in the beginning. Yeah, Maui Logic. I meant 9 times 3. Yep, you got me correct on there. So, Monica, you have been chosen as our next victim. Thank you for having your birth time ready. Let's see, it's almost 12 o'clock. Maybe we'll start the clock at 12 o'clock once we get there. Alright, so we're going to put this into both systems here. Monica Lee is born. I should know this, but I don't. I've read Monica a million times. August 13th, 1983. 1983. And her time of birth is 1:28 p.m. 1:28. Born in the USA. Aurora, Minneapolis. Aurora, let's see what this gives me. Aurora, NV. I'm looking for MN, Saint Louis. Is MN Minneapolis? Am I right about that? Is Minneapolis a state? I'm Canadian, you guys, so you'll have to excuse my ignorance on the matter. Okay. Minnesota. I should have known that. Thank you, Monica. So, I have you now in our Adityas circle. Now, let's get you here on our Kala. Monica Lee. We have you August. I should have your info in here, but I lost all my info when I changed my computer recently. It's okay. And then we were born 13/28/00, 1:28. Yes, that is correct. Aurora. And that's Aurora, MN, Minnesota, right? Am I right on that? Minneapolis is in Minnesota. Damn. Alright, now it's all coming together. Minnesota. Gotcha. Alright, good. So, Monica, it looks like this is the chart that we are now dealing with. We can see that you have the rising sign in the sign of Amshu. And there's going to be a correlation of your rising sign in some ways with what we know of the sign of Sagittarius. So again, there's going to be an extreme similarity in your chart to, obviously the houses stay the same between systems. But now you have the rising sign in Amshu. You have Jupiter and Ketu in the 2nd house. You have the sun, the moon and Saturn in the 12th house of Vishnu. And let's take a little peek here. I want this to be someone like this. I wonder how that looks. I wish I could see. Whatever. This leaves us with, of course, Saturn, Moon, and Pluto in the 12th house altogether. And this gives us the North Node in the 8th house of Varuna. The South Node is in the 2nd house, where Jupiter and Uranus and Neptune are. So, Monica is in that generation where Uranus, Neptune, and Ketu, the South Node, were all in the sign of Bhaga. And this is in her 2nd house. So there's quite a lot crammed in there, especially with a Jupiter that's a little bit tricky here. What's nice is that the Mars is exalted in the Navamsha in the sign of Bhaga, because Mars in Bhaga correlates with Mars, you know, Bhaga correlates with Capricorn. So this is a Jupiter that is Vargatama, and it is in the sign of Bhaga in the birth chart and the Navamsha chart, correlates with Capricorn, so that can show a little bit of a testy Jupiter. Its yoga power isn't too bad though. It's got good Digbala because it's close to the 1st house, so there's good and bad with every chart. We can see that Saturn is taking quite a ding in this chart as well, and we can speak to that. Specifically, Saturn is the place in this chart that's taking the biggest hit in the Lajatadya Vashtas. What's going on with Mars here? Mars is... it's actually pretty happy, at least by being... it's not combust, which is a really nice thing. Venus is not combust either, so there's no combustion happening in this chart, which is nice. We can see that the Venus and Mercury are together in the 11th house in Tvashta, which relates with Libra, and both of them are happy there. Mars and the Sun are in the 10th house, and that is a happy place for both of them to be. They are not combusting each other, so that's a pretty happy place, especially for the Sun. Like, this is a great Sun happening in this chart, and it's going to serve and feed everything in the sign of Leo. The Sun is in the 10th house. It's neutral in the sign of Mercury. It's actually considered being a friend sign. Venus is Mula Trikona by being in the sign of Tvashta, and that is a nice thing as well. So I'm just digesting the nuts and bolts here, everybody. Let's start to really dig into Monica's chart. Let's put our timer for a half an hour, just like we did for our last reading. If we go a little over or whatever, that's quite all right. The timer has started. So everybody, we are now on our next reading, digging into Monica's chart and seeing the main themes associated with this astrology chart. Beginning with the fact that we really have the rising sign here in, again, Amshu. And this resonates with Sagittarius. This is one of the corner pieces, which means that just like with any mutable or dual sign as the rising sign lord, we're going to have Jupiter rules the 1st house and the 4th house, which are both angles, and Mercury rules the 7th and the 10th house, right? Again, just like Sagittarius. Really, we have Saturn Atmakaraka, and that's definitely going to play into the lifeblood of this person's chart. Monica is still a Saturn Atmakaraka now, as she has been. And we also have the moon in, oh yes, so the moon is probably, the moon is on the cusp of its nakshatras. The moon is in the nakshatra of Chitra. And Saturn, the Atmakaraka, in this chart being at the end of a water sign, the end of Scorpio, Saturn and the Moon and Pluto are all close enough to each other that they're all going to share the same nakshatra. And that is going to be the Navamsha. Sorry, I said the nakshatra. They are all in the same nakshatra. They are all in Svati. Which really, you know, that's a very strong indication. Saturn, Moon, and Pluto all together here like this. It's going to really amplify the good things, the bad things, and everything in between that we can associate with this sign placement. Saturn being the Atmakaraka, falling with the Moon and Pluto and Mercury into the Navamsha of Pisces. That means that our friend Monica here is none other than Pisces Swamsha. That is, I got to make sure I use my right strict terms because we're using the Adityas. This would be Parjanya. And all things related to the Aditya Parjanya is going to be relevant to Monica's experience. So Parjanya Swamsha is going to relate to Pisces in this way. It is a person who's interested in moksha. This is a person who's interested in kaivalya, in the aloneness of seeing. Reality is what it is, regardless of our consciousness of it. And we have to come into realization and consciousness of what reality is. Pisces has a way of ripping us out of our karmic preconceptions. And this is what the life of that can be expected from a person who has the Swamsha in Parjanya. Parjanya is like Pisces, it's the end of the zodiac. So think about this. This is what I've been often telling people when I find that they have Parjanya Swamsha. This is just like Pisces. You see, human evolution has led us to this point where we are humans. We have society. We have cities. We have citadels. We have nations. We have countries. And if you climb through the whole zodiac from Aries and Dhata all the way up to, let's say, you know, we get to Capricorn and we start to, Capricorn is the 10th sign. It's the octave of 1. So this is when Capricorn is when the basic elements of humanity begins to unfold. This is when we begin to crawl out of the earth and become society. Then Aquarius energy represents humanity at its humanist. Aquarius is the most human sign in astrology. It's number 11. In Aquarius, we are experiencing karma at its most human level. And humanity, you know, really the whole zodiac, including the Adityas, is a human zodiac. And it ends at Aquarius. It ends at Pushan. Then after the 11th sign, Pushan, there's a little glimmer. There's a little glimmer of the next space, of the next evolutionary intent for humanity. And this is what Pisces is. This is what Parjanya is. Pisces represents the squiggly, wiggly, transcendental sphere that is the next step from humanity. Now the thing is that Aquarius teaches us that we have to be happy in our humanity. You can't really do Pisces if you haven't been doing Saturn through Capricorn and Aquarius. So for anybody who is Pisces or Parjanya Swamsha, this is a person who is this transcendental fish that is evolving into the next transcendental space beyond human consciousness, beyond being in a civil society. Again, we all have programs that keep us as robots wired into law, justice, and moral law, social attitudes. Pisces is the next step in the development of a deeper soul realization through deeper love. We know that Venus is exalted in Pisces. So anyone with Pisces Swamsha or Pisces energy in general is this permeation of the next advancement in compassion and love. And this is Monica to a T. At least from what I know of Monica, she is definitely this serving person, this loving person, this person who is a mystic and who is bringing everyone around her into a deeper comprehension of what lies beyond Aquarius, what lies beyond humanity, what lies beyond just the status quo and life as we know it in this state of evolution in society and civilization. But it's painful. Pisces and Parjanya both have this indication of heaviness, of difficulty, because it takes consciousness, it takes evolution, it takes sattva to apply ourselves to Pisces. Pisces is bringing out the sattva, and sattva means spiritual, illuminating qualities of virtue, of love and compassion. And this can be tough when nobody else is Piscean like you try to be. And this is what can bring this type of person into the stresses that ultimately help them evolve. So this is Pisces energy in general. It's the next step after Aquarius in human evolution. It's a little glimmer, a little crack of the next evolutionary step. But just like all Jupiter-ruled signs, just like Amshu and Parjanya experience this, Jupiter, the Rishi, is bringing us into a higher evolutionary order. And it's just like a man who tames a horse. The horse wants to roam free, just like Pisces and, Parjanya and Amshu both want to run free as the Jupiter-ruled signs. And it takes Jupiter, so the horse wants to run free. Now a human comes and brings that horse to a farm and starts getting the farm to do these human tasks. In some ways the human is served by the horse, and in some ways the horse is served by the human. It's more painful for the horse. He could be roaming free, but instead he's being yoked to a higher evolutionary order. It's not really to say that humans are higher than the other animals, because they all have their place in the evolutionary run of things. But in the linear sense, humanity is at Aquarius. Animals are more at, we could probably say Sagittarius. Animals are, for better and for worse, they're not evolved in the intelligences in the way that humans are. Horses don't have the same human self-reflection that humans do. No animal does. It's part of the good and bad that blesses and curses humanity at our point in evolution. So humanity is dragging the horse into a higher state of evolution. This is just like what Parjanya and Amshu ruled people do. Our friend Monica here has Parjanya Swamsha, relating with Pisces, and Amshu rising, relating with Sagittarius. So in two ways, Monica is yoking, bringing the people in her life into a higher state of evolutionary order. And this is going to take a development of self-respect. It's going to take a courageous expression of respect from those around them to recognize Monica's instinctive, intuitive, spiritualizing influence that she has on everybody. It can be agitating. Amshu, and Sagittarius rising by archetype can be agitating in this way because it's like dad, It's like the father in your life, Sagittarius and Amshu can both have this, come on, we're aiming for the highest. So let's all do our best to get together and be the best people we can be and aim for the highest. it also resonates with a Leo energy in a way. It can be annoying, but we need people like this in our lives to help bring us into a higher evolutionary state of being. What's interesting is that the Parjanya Swamsha will make this person do it in a way where they're not pushing people over. They're not, forcing people to evolve quicker than they need to. They are insisting through the feminine way, seducing people into seeing that there's a better, more compassionate life that I could be living. This is Parjanya energy. The sweetness itself of peace and goodness and righteousness and virtue and morals and ethics and living a right life under the light of Christ and Ganesha and Krishna and all good things. This wink from the Parjanya Swamsha person makes everybody feel, I feel why that's good. But it does take a balance of things. There's probably an integration needed in the sign of Viveshvan, of Virgo, because that's the opposite of the Swamsha here. So this is just an example of Parjanya Swamsha. Now for a Saturn Atmakaraka to be falling there, it's going to signify, obviously everything going on with Saturn, it's the Atmakaraka. So there's a lot to be said about this particular Atmakaraka Saturn is getting a little bit more, it's a little bit tougher than it was in the tropical reading for Monica, because in that reading she had Saturn in the sign of Libra. Now Saturn falls into the sign of Vishnu, which correlates more with Scorpio. So Scorpio is starving Saturn, and the moon is also starving Saturn here. As the Atmakaraka, this would show that Saturn probably has a hard time, again, coming down to that human level of things. There's a need for Saturn, especially because the South Node is in Capricorn here. There's a need for this person to come into the peace of Saturn. There's a need to sort of come down to earth again, a little bit similar to our last reading, but slightly different, because the South Node is in Capricorn now. There's a need to, especially because the nodes are in an earth-water axis, it's worth noting, it's a very interesting chart in the Adityas sense, because the North Node is in Varuna, which is ruled by the moon. The South Node is in Pugga, which is ruled by Saturn. So the nodes are operating through the moon and Saturn. Saturn and the moon are conjunct in the sign of Scorpio in the 12th house here in Pluto, with Pluto there. And this is going to bring strong agitation, strong frustration with what is needed in order for this person to advance and expand and resolve fixed places of karma. There is definitely a need to have this softness, but also firmness at the same time. It's a funny thing, because the Saturn Atmakaraka would be teaching you to be firm, to have boundaries, to make sure you are paying attention to your own finances, your own pocketbook, right? With Saturn here in the second house, with the South Node, Ketu, is in the second house. That means that we have a strong predilection for all things related to the second house, of having my finances figured out, of feeling like I have my own resources, my own vehicles, my own job that allows me to have my own money. And there's a desire to fundamentally, when it comes to the second and eighth house axis, there's a need to have your own crocodile before you start playing with jaguar. But the jaguar is going to pull the crocodile out. The crocodile, especially this is relevant because Capricorn is the crocodile, but it's also a second house thing as I describe it. The second house wants to have its own resources. If you want to deal, let's say you want to deal in business with somebody, you want to combine your resources with them, and this is the north node in the 8th house, right? We have the north node in the 8th house, the south node, and all this other stuff in the 2nd house. You know, there is a need to embrace and accept and understand the importance of the 2nd house, of your own finances, dealing with money, saving for yourself for a rainy day. And savings is tough for all of us, especially these days. We're in kind of crazy, tough times right now. But to have the conscientiousness, again, that money is not evil. Money is just another aspect of our root chakra, of our emotional resources. The Saturn aspect is really deeply relevant here as well. Understanding that my material reality and taking account of my vital resources. How much do I put into things, and again, how much do I get back? Am I being drained for the way that I'm sharing my resources and creating my own resources? Most particularly, we're going to talk a bit about the eclipses and how it's relating to this chart. There would be good things in this eclipse happening for Monica, because we'll talk about that in a minute. But the south node in the 2nd house needs to have a fundamental grip on its own financial reality in order to be at peace when it comes to dealing with other people's resources and other people's money and other people's assets. And for us to be trusted in dealing with other people's money, other people's resources, and other people's assets. You know, if you're going to go down to Costa Rica with a bunch of friends, and let's say 8 people all get together, it's like, hey guys, let's all get together and make a yoga space here and create a yoga place, and we'll get people from all over the world. We'll all pitch in on the rent together. It's a great idea, especially the 8th house can have a sense of how to network with people, how to gain power with other people, how to be regarded well for the resources that you have, and you know how to, how to deal with group money in that way. And this can be a corporate person. Rahu in the 8th house needs to learn how to understand this. And there's strength and skills that can happen with that 8th house of Cancer, of Varuna, for the Aditya Amshu. Varuna, Rahu and Varuna, which resonates with Cancer, in the 8th house. There's this sense of knowing how everyone is with their money. Sagittarius, through the moon, intuits what the people in its party can do with their money and how they'd like to approach it. So in order for Rahu to deal confidently in the 8th house, you got all these people in Costa Rica, 8 different people. They all want to pitch their money in to Costa Rica, to this thing. And it costs, $100,000 for the land, and then we all have to pay this much to the land to keep the taxes up. We all have to pitch in this group consciousness to make sure we've got people coming in, doing yoga. We'll set it up so that the locals come in and do some yoga too. But then we need to get somebody in this group to be bringing people from all over the world, having these seminars, bringing them to Costa Rica, so that we all eventually make a buck off of this business venture. We want it to be business friendly. We might also want it to have, if you've got 9th house stuff going on in this 8th house thing, you can have ethical. We want to do it for the yoga, etc. But for someone like this who's involving themselves in the 2nd and 8th house axis, what you'll find is that if you get yourself wrapped up in that kind of money situation with other people's money, it's going to be important for you to have your own crocodile, your own resources. It's important for everybody who's dealing with the Jaguar of the 8th house that they each have their own sound financial foundation. They're all saving money. They all have some kind of gig where they get a salary, or they rent a house. They have some kind of business, and they take 10-15% of their monthly income and they put it into their own well-diversified stock portfolio, so that over time you get, $600 a week, whatever, $500 a week. You're taking $150, you're plugging it into your personal savings. Let's say that'd be like $500 a month, which is even a lot. It's hard for people to save these days, but whatever you can do, you take a percent of your income, you pay yourself first, and you try to get rid of all your debt. So now you have money accumulating while you're not doing anything. Your bronze is making more bronze. You have your own setup going on. So that if something happens down there in Costa Rica, like, oh guys, the radiator, the heater blew up, the methane tank, the thing we were using blew up, and it's going to cost us all $3,000 American. We all have to pitch in somehow and make it so that we can get that again so our business can go back up and running. So who can fork out some shillings? Who has something to contribute to the group project to keep it spinning so it doesn't fall flat? Because you've already invested the initial $100,000, everybody split it. But now it has more costs, and if everybody doesn't have their own second house figured out, when the 8th house goes up and down, as the 8th house will, with other people's money, it's this crazy, unstable thing with the 8th house. If the 8th house blows up over there, we all have to take out of our own personal finances to keep it going. And if you are never pitching in when the 8th house thing blows up, if you're not good with money, then eventually everyone's going to smell that you aren't pitching your weight into this group thing, and you could have ended up putting $20,000 on the initial investment, and then you get kicked out because you haven't been a part of the investment because you haven't had your own financial resources figured out. This is second house, 8th house stuff. In this case, Monica might actually feel that she's been almost obsessive about how she deals with her money in the second house. But the 8th house is going to teach Monica how to realize that when you do deal with other people and see how they deal with their money, you're going to see how healthy it is for them to take care of their second house. Because the second house and 8th house are not actually a big deal. It's only when we have karma there that we experience it to be a heavier deal than we realize. Which means you might have patterns and habits relating to sharing resources, and not only sharing resources, but more to the point, having your own resources, having boundaries with your necessary resources, not necessarily sharing them, but finding a balance in this way so that when you get into relationships with people, you see how they deal with money and account for their own vital energies that they've put into a relationship, or especially monetarily. This dimension of things gets very skewed, makes it almost as if like I don't want to involve myself with anybody because the money gets so crazy. And the dignity of your vital resources, as well as the sharing from the heart. I share these things from the heart, and how much does this other person share things from their heart, and how does it all meet in the middle? These are probably tough themes because the moon and the Saturn are in the 12th house of Vishnu, and the moon is debilitated in the sign of Vishnu, and with that Pluto there especially. The Pisces energy, where this ends up in the Navamsha, there's gonna be a lot of forgiveness in the person. There's gonna be a need on the inside for Monica to ultimately see that there will be a lot of things that aren't balanced, that are unfair, that give shame, that make you feel like a piece of shit for whatever reason. And there's a Pisces Swamsha energy in you that is good at forgiving it, doing internal work, shadow work, staring into your grief and shedding it and experiencing it. The moon and Saturn together in Scorpio is probably used to just squeezing it all itself, especially in the 12th house. I'm just going to sit in my own pain, digest it. I'm going to be a sponge. I'm going to absorb all the toxin in this relationship and squeeze myself to pieces, getting rid of the toxins that I see there. And oh good, now there's no more toxins. But, the Virgo side of this needs to communicate so that you're not the only one pulling out the toxins and eating it and being like Shiva, it's going blue in your throat, and then you do mantras and all the spiritual work to expunge it. It's important for you to make sure that this is a shared phenomenon and that you're communicating about these boundaries, about these virtues, And the tricky thing is that with a Saturn like yours, it might be tough to stand on your own 2 feet. It might feel like there's a restriction in financial resources and emotional resources that makes it feel like it's impossible to get enough money and enough income to do the things you want to do for yourself and for others. But this is, you know, this is tough. This is a tough position, but it's really the only really tough, questionable thing indicated in this chart. You know, there's indications that the Sun and Mars are really happy and helping each other where they are. They've got very strong Shadbala by being in the 10th house. The Sun is actually spanking in this chart. For Shadbala's sake, the Moon has the most sthana, but the Sun is the strongest Shadbala planet. The masculine planets, all the planets have well above 100 in their report card overall, including Saturn. So Saturn came into this life with a strength, and now there's the Lajatadhyavashtas are pushing this Saturn to feel a little bit of the struggle. But the struggle that the Saturn is experiencing is probably really conditions from childhood. That's what's beautiful about the Lajatadhyavashtas, is that they are programs. It's incidental nurturing to be nervous with Saturn, to not be able to breathe, to stand strong in yourself when emotional things happen, when chaotic things happen, to stand on your own 2 feet, to have your own financial resources, have your own root chakra. You came into this life with the ability to do that. But the circumstances of your early childhood might have choked your feeling that Saturn is natural and strong in you. And this is just because of the way it's situated. There would still be a feeling of shame, of difficulty, of yuckiness, of incapacity. Saturn is natural in a sort of natural sadhisati in this chart, as we have described before. And so there is a squeeze on the emotional readiness, and there's a deep capacity to blend and to bond. But when the Saturn and Moon are together, you know, we can see how this would bring out some of these themes of a constricted Moon, of being a little bit mistrusting, especially happening in Scorpio. There's definitely a need to open up the heart, to trust in yourself, in the people that you connect with, while also having boundaries. Because this is probably the thing, is that there's probably very strong boundaries and walls up until you let somebody in. And then once you've let somebody into your life, it's a floodgate of emotional love that the Moon and the heart have been trying to have and seeking to have. But now there's a need to balance that love with boundaries, with self-advocation, and with spending time alone doing what you need to do for yourself. Right? So this is some of what we see happening in this chart. You know, I just want to digest what else we've got going on here. Ultimately, really, Rahu in the sign of Varuna, again, relates with Cancer, and it is this 8th house. Saturn ruling the 2nd and 3rd house. There we go. That's the end of our reading for the moment. Saturn ruling the 2nd and 3rd house, and being the one sign that has difficulty in the Lajatadhyavashtas. It's a pretty strong difficulty here. It does show that one's personal life, one's personal finances, and Saturn ruling the 3rd house also shows a need to, again, be strong and firm in your communications of what you're good at, what your talents are, what your genius is. And Saturn will always have a little bit of difficulty with that. Now, ultimately, during this recent eclipse, the lunar eclipse in particular would have fallen in the sign of, let me just digest this for a second. The solar eclipse would have happened around your sun on February 17th. And then the lunar eclipse happened in Tvashta, which is where your Venus and Mercury are, right? The recent lunar eclipse happened in Tvashta. You have Venus and Mercury there in the 11th house. The 11th house is a tricky placement for anything, but Venus and Mercury here, Venus is in its own sign of Tvashta. It's delighting Mercury, and Mercury is delighting Venus. There's actually a strong capacity to connect through the 11th house, to connect with a bigger world outside of yourself. There's lots of resources and money that can come from you providing a skill that you contribute in a way that you love to do, and a way that you're good at communicating with. Whatever it is that you do with your job, the Sun and Mars are going to be quite capable in the job, in whatever job you're in. This is the solar Mars, especially because, this dimension of Monica here is quite strong. The masculine side of showing up with my inspiration to build my kingdom and do what I've got to do. This is actually very pronouncedly strong inside of Monica's chart. The sun is happy, chappy, doing what it's doing here. And the 11th house is going to relate to the spoils that come from the hard work you do in your own career, in your own self-reality. It's going to expand into this second house from the 10th house, which is the 11th house. Now, remember we were talking about the eclipses. The lunar eclipse happening with Venus and Mercury here in the sign of Libra, that is Tvashta, which resonates with Libra. What we have there is Tvashta, again, relates to building things with other people and making sure that that it's sustainable. Making sure that it is sustainable and that each person in the relationship is sharing what is good in them and it's being received and appreciated. Because what can happen with this eclipse, as Ernst has described, is there's an emotional energy with the lunar eclipse especially. The lunar eclipse happening in Tvashta. That's awesome, Monica. I know that you do that stuff. Connecting with people. But also, with this 11th house, it would show that you've got the capacity to connect with others who are also into this life coaching, helping older generations and homeless, and availing yourself to contributing to this network that you could be a part of, that you actually enjoy. Someone with Venus and Mercury in the 11th house likes to playfully say, hey, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to help out with this thing. I like this thing. I like to talk about it. I'm charming about this. I'm good at talking about it and bringing it together. People recognize this with you, and they just want you around because you beam the energy of, in this case, Tvashta, which is helping others, being there for others, being there for a community, being there for a team. The lunar eclipse happened in Tvashta, which is where your Venus and Mercury are. This is where the lunar eclipse is happening. So again, there's a theme here of needing to communicate where your Venus, where your love is connecting, and your Mercury is here too. These planets are pretty good in your chart, which means the eclipses would be bringing out the feeling that you need to communicate, and others need to feel like you're both enjoying what you get out of each other. So there's two ways this could go. Number one is that you are putting a lot of energy into things and into people in your life and into your job and your boss, and people don't appreciate the work that you do. People don't appreciate how you're doing this work. And it might be partly because you need to communicate with these people so that you feel like you're both building something again. You're both building together on a life that is good for both of you. This needs to be communicated if you feel like there's some aspect of your life where you're being parasited and drained. In particular for Monica, Venus rules Tvashta, the 11th house, and Aryama, which is the 6th house. So the 11th and 6th house shows that Venus is a tricky planet for Amshu overall. Venus is going to feel that its 11th house and 6th house is being tugged on in this way, the constant debt energy and constant 6th house energy that you do. as well as your 11th house energy, the work you do for a community, is being drained, and it would be good to speak to how your values are not being accounted for there. As well, Mercury in communicating about the 10th and 7th house. So that is career, that is business relationships, but relationships, marriages of all sorts is another place where this parasitism might be occurring, where you feel you're unconsciously being a parasite to people, and people are also being a parasite to you. And what it takes is communication of what we are both seeking in these relationships. It takes communication to make sure it's sustainable. Here's what I can give in this relationship realistically. And I can possibly give more, but I can't unless these requirements are filled. Because right now what I'm doing is not sustainable, and you say what you're not doing is sustainable. What do you need and what do I need? And those communications of that frustration is what this axis is all about. Tvashta and Data. The Libra and Aries adityas. It's a yucky experience. I've been dealing with it a lot myself in my own personal life, my private relationships with my father, with my relationship that I have with a person, a lady friend who I've had for a long time. We're still intimate in ways, and we're not a couple anymore. So that has really, this conversation has been very important and relevant for us in this recent time, having to talk about it, having to feel like I'm not just emotionally sponging from her while I go and do all my career things. We've had to have that conversation. There's the same, tends to be both ways, depending. There's ways where, truth be told, I was mostly the parasite in this situation. But in communicating it, me and my person both learned how we need to communicate so that I can see where I'm doing this parasite thing without giving back in return. For me, it's because I'm South Node in Indra. Everything in my life is so important, but I don't see the other person fully. A similar thing can happen based on each person's thing, with the nodes in this Earth-Water axis of Bhagha and Varuna. These relationships and emotions especially, there's deep-running emotions that relate to the mother. So Monica having South Node in Bhagha, which resonates with Capricorn, North Node in Varuna, which resonates with Cancer. These are earth and water, which means that the nodes are working through the elements that relate to the mother. Of feeling like a woman, feeling like what I am is intrinsically valuable. So the eclipses would probably be bringing it to a head, certainly. And, especially in this Aditya system, Saturn is currently going through Aryama, which for you is the 6th house. It resonates with Taurus. It resonates with Venus. So for everybody, Saturn going through Aryama is going to exacerbate and emphasize these themes even more at this particular time where it would be brought to a head. What does our relationship mean? How are we going to make it sustainable? Now is the time to figure out these kinds of things. There's always a lot there. But Monica, my friend, I hope that this has been a useful reading for you, has brought in a little bit of reflective self-realization. It's always interesting to do these adityas and to see how it unfolds. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the way that I am going with things. It might seem a little odd and jarring, but it's good for us to practice this new system. Because this, I believe in where Ernst is taking this. I believe in what Ernst is doing. So if you're curious about more of what's happening here, I recommend everybody take a look at what Ernst is doing before you make any judgment on it. Try to read listen to his videos, see what he's putting out about it. The Aditya circle is a very special thing, and I'm following my teacher's nose and inching my way into it. I hope that this has been good for you guys and that this has given you guys lots to think about. Monica, thank you so much for being a part of it today. Give Monica a nice little golf clap. Yes, the Dumbledore clap. Very well done. I'm glad that I could share this reading with you today, Monica. Hello, Sprinkle. Chaley, nice to see you as well. So, everybody, we've had lots of people hanging out today and checking out the reading. Now, usually what I do at this point is we can do, I'll avail myself to one more half-an-hour reading if anybody feels like it. For the sake of it, I'll say this first. My name is Dustin Cormier, and I'm very glad to be doing what I do on my channel. If you guys have been enjoying this, you can feel free to check out my little link here, and that's how I avail myself to tips in my services. And as well, you can also, if anybody's interested in getting one of these readings from me officially, you can check me out at astrology@dustincormier.com. I'm so glad, Monica, that you enjoyed this reading. There's more to unfold. There's always more to unfold, but I think that we got into some pretty primary stuff from what we did here today. Awesome, Monica. I appreciate you very much as well. So if anybody's interested, you can check me out at my PayPal here to send me some love for the work I do. And as well, if anybody is interested, you can also email me. Now, Sprinkle, if you like, right now I'm doing a donation-based reading for $30. You can give it to me through PayPal, or you can give it to me on YouTube, and I can do a reading for you right now. Or if you like, you can email me at astrology@dustincormier.com, and I could do more of a private reading for you that way. So let me know if you'd prefer any of those. If you'd like, we can do a chart reading for you right now. Sending now. Beautiful. So take your time, Sprinkle. And Sprinkle has offered for her interest in... now, Sprinkle, remember, this is the Aditya's that we're doing here. So keep that in mind, is that if we're going to do a reading today, Sprinkle, it will be for this Aditya's reading that we've been doing today. I'm not sure if you know Ernst Wilhelm. It's going to be a similar thing to what you've seen and experienced. Much love to you as well, Monica. Hello there, Margarita, the Star Wars lady. It is nice to see you as well. Sparkle, let me know if you have any questions in that regard. If you feel like sending money now, then yes, we can do our final reading of the day. I'm going to do one more bathroom break. I've been drinking these smoothies and it goes right through me. Let's do one more bathroom break. I'm going to get a piece of chocolate too. And then when I come back, we're going to get into what is happening on the next one. So I'll see you guys in just a moment. Bonjour. Not sure what that is. Cool. All right, Sprinkle. I'm glad to hear that you are into the experiment. So, Sprinkle, let me know if you are interested in what we've got going on here. And yes, we can avail ourselves for a reading now while we're live. Or you can, again, email me for later if you feel like it. For anybody who's interested, you know, again, you can catch me at astrology@dustincormier.com. I'm currently doing discounted eclipse readings for everybody who is interested. So let me know, Sprinkle, or anybody now who's interested in a reading. And you can pay through, again, PayPal. Now, Sprinkle, maybe I'll show you now. This little link that I've just sent into the chat would take you to my PayPal. And if you're interested in a reading for today for that $30, that's where it would go. And we will do an Aditches reading for you. And keep in mind, on a public forum like this, we can go deep with this astrology. It's always in the interest of healing and self-reflection. You know, I'm not interested in pulling your skeletons out of the closet for all to see, but we will always try to scratch into some healing, if it's possible, when we do these readings. That is, in the end, what astrology is all about. Whatever system you use, ultimately, if you can have a prompt for this self-reflection experience, then we're going to have what we need. Chat with them really quickly and heal them. Oh, God bless you. Okay, Sprinkle. I wonder if it's because of the PayPal link. Again, if it goes all to hell, Sprinkle. Right. Well, Sprinkle, if it doesn't work out, oh, it looks like I might have. Oh, I received something from my friend Monica. Thank you, Monica. Monica's always helping me out with my tips. Yeah, they're stupid that did the same thing earlier. So if this doesn't work, Sprinkle, I can always send you an invoice, and that'll just have money go right to your debit and credit card, right? And that way you can just put in your debit and credit information without having to go through PayPal. Or, like I said, you can always email me, and then I can get you the reading. It just wouldn't be live, that's all. For everybody who is interested, I am... there we go. It looks like we got one part of the donation. Thank you for that $5, Sprinkle. Now, if you like, you can put the whole donation through YouTube. I'd be happy with that as well. Let me know if that's what your interest is. Again, we're looking for, if we're going to do, we're waiting. Oh, okay, cool. All right, Sprinkle, I'll hang out. And I thank you, Sprinkle. I appreciate it. It looks like we are going to have our third reading today. Now, let's get things started here, Sprinkle, then. Using YouTube because they take so much from you. Yeah, that's okay. You know, if you give me $30 and they take a good chunk of it. But, you know, I appreciate that. But it's okay. It doesn't look bad on me when I get money for YouTube, because YouTube says, oh, good, this guy's making money. It kind of looks better on my channel. So if you pay me through YouTube, it's not a big deal. Now, Sprinkle, did you happen to give me your birth information yet, I wonder? You gave me some of your planets. But if you can, Sprinkle, let me know your birth information, your birth date, your birthplace, and your birth time, as well as how, if you feel like it, if you identify as any particular pronoun, if you identify as a woman or a man, and if you consider yourself straight or bisexual. All these things can help us narrow in to the reading that we do. Robbie is asking me about my Tropical Vedic Astrology book, and it has been a slow going. I'm still putting myself in a place where I can fully study, but I have so many things always cropping up and coming into my life, it can be hard to pull it all together. But, you know, I've been doing a lot of winter stuff, so now my Tropical Vedic Astrology book is centering itself in a place where I can actually work on it and focus on it. This Monday is going to be my first day going to the library and fully focusing on... I'm actually taking Ernst Wilhelm's course. And it's once I'm done with that course, I'm going to have a lot more material for that Tropical Vedic Astrology book. So there's quite a bit there to do. Come on, this should be able to... Here we go. Thank you, Sprinkle. You are a woman, and you are straight. Now we've got you as January, March 16th, 1984. Sprinkle, March 14th, 1984. Is that right? March 14th? March 16th, 1984. And the time is 5:29. And Sprinkle is born in Salt Lake City, Utah. Salt Lake City, Utah. All right. Okay, so this is our Aditya Zodiac. And I'm also going to get it going on the Aditya calculator as well. So, Sparkle is born in March 16th, and that's 1984. We have the year of the rat. And of course, the rat is considered to be a sacred symbol in Chinese astrology. 5:29 p.m. Nice to have a very exact birth time. In the USA, Salt Lake City, Utah. March 16th, 1984 at 5:29. Yes, that puts us as Tvashta rising. I think we did somebody else who was also Tvashta rising today. So we're getting all of the Tvashta. Yep, 1984, my dear. So, okay, so Sprinkle. I mean, you know, Sprinkle, we've got our horses all horsed up here, you know. If you want, we can start diving into your reading here. Let me know, you know. I've gotten myself together here for our reading. And I'm the type who, you know, I definitely want to just rock and roll here. And it seems like you are pulling the money together. Should I wait until you're together with the monetary transaction here? Oh, you're on chat with the bank now. Okay. All right, then. We can hang out for a moment. You know, for the sake of it, what the heck, you know. We'll take a look at some of the things in your chart. I can see you're chatting with the bank, so I won't go too deep because I want you to be here and to be able to listen. But for the sake of it, we can at least start to, for the audience here, for us waiting, we can at least scratch into some of the guts of what we see happening in this chart. It looks to me we have the sun as our Atmakaraka, and the sun is in the sign of Dhata. Cool. Cool, Sprinkle. All right, good. I'll hang out a little bit just so we can see so that you can be a part of what we're looking at here in the end of things. The sun is our Atma Karaka. It's falling into Data, which means the sun is exalted. It's a very happily, perfectly full moon. Like, it just couldn't be better in terms of that full moon there. Which is very nice. Having a full moon is always a nice thing. And it's happening, this full moon is happening, it's opposite the nodes, which is actually a very strong thing. It's very nice when the sun and moon are as far from the nodes as possible, because the nodes can kind of really mess with the soul. So it's a pretty happy position going on with the sun and the moon here. The sun and the moon are, the moon is in Tvashta and the sun is in Tata. That full moon energy is definitely going to be an asset to this chart. The sun is considered exalted in the sign of Tata. Although it's with Venus, it's not combusting Venus, but it's still in the same sign as Venus. So they're gonna harm each other a little bit. You said this was, yeah, so this is different from tropical Vedic astrology. This is Sprinkle. This is what we call Ernst Wilhelm's Aditya's circle. So Ernst Wilhelm is my teacher, and he's the one who's introducing the world to this system that he's been using, which is actually regarded as being the original ideal system, just like all astrology systems say. So I'm inviting everyone to experiment with it here. This is the Aditya's cycle, and there are, just like in Vedic astrology, there are exaltations, there are debilitations. The sun is exalted in this Aditya system in the sign of Tata, where your sun is. This is nice because the sun is the Atma Karaka. The sun is the planet with the highest degrees in the chart. So we have sun, Atma Karaka, and where it's positioned at 26 degrees, 36 minutes of arc, that sun is positioned in the soul sign, the Navamsha chart sign of Vishnu, which resonates with Scorpio. So there's almost like a sort of Scorpio Swamsha energy happening here. The eighth sign represents the Navamsha. Thank you, darling. Sprinkle, I appreciate you very much for getting in your payment. And you also gave me a $5 tip on YouTube, so I deeply appreciate that. So, it's in, ladies and gentlemen. The numbers are in. Now, I'm going to give you a little extra time here because you paid that little extra money there. So let's go for 35 minutes with our friend Sprinkle here. Our time has started with your official 35-minute reading on the Aditya's circle. Let's dig into it here, folks. Now, Sprinkle, thank you very much for taking the time to do what you have to do to support me in my channel, and for being a part of this new unfolding world of the Aditya's circle done by Ernst Wilhelm. I appreciate it very much. So you're going to find, Sprinkle, that the houses are all the same in both systems. So for example, you can see, for example, the moon is in your first house. You have Pluto and Saturn and Mars in the third house. You have the south node in the fourth house. But the signs are all going to be in the Aditya system, which is going to make it slightly different, but the houses are the same. So what I was just saying, Sprinkle, is that you have the sun in you've got a nice full moon happening in this chart, and the full moon is square to the nodes. Sorry about that. The nodes we can see are on the top and bottom of the chart, and the sun and moon we can see are on the left and right of the chart. That is going to help to solidify the sun and the moon and to bring some balance there. The sun is particularly warm in this chart. It is having a really good time. In terms of Shadbala, the only planet that's really under is Mars. Mars is the one planet that shows you might have brought a little bit of difficulty in dealing with Mars coming into this life. Not too bad, though. We can see that Mars itself is also getting chipped away by what's happening there. Ah, yes, I see. So Mars and Saturn are together with Pluto in this third house, in the sign of Amshu. We can see Jupiter here in the 5th house. I'm trying to see if we can see any... yes, okay. We do have what's called a Parivartana Yoga in this chart. I always look for Parivartana Yogas. They are always very deep running, especially because we have Pluto and Neptune involved with this. Lots of planets involved with this Parivartana. So, Sprinkle, my dear, you can feel free to ask me any sorts of questions. I'm going to be trying to look and make sure. So Mars, yes. Mars is in the sign of Amshu, with Saturn and Pluto there. Now, Sprinkle, what I want to point out here is that in this system, Saturn is in the sign of Amshu, which is ruled by Jupiter. And Jupiter is in the sign of Pushan, which is ruled by Saturn. Amshu relates to Sagittarius, Pushan relates to Aquarius. So Jupiter is in Saturn's sign, and Saturn is in Jupiter's sign. Saturn's in a Rishi sign, Jupiter is in a Rakshasa sign. And that's a Ditya theory. So these two are sharing, they're in each other's signs. You can imagine as if you had Saturn in Sagittarius and Jupiter in Aquarius. And so there is a Parivartana happening between these two positions, the 3rd house and the 5th house. And there'd be a lot to read there. It's especially relevant because we have the South Node in the sign of Bhaga. So Bhaga, again, relates with Capricorn. It's ruled by Saturn as well. So you have the South Node Lord involved in this this Parivartana Yoga. Let's take a minute. Let's dive into this a little bit. I didn't get a chance really to do it in the last reading with the person. This is how my readings work. We're going to take the time and dig into this Parivartana Yoga. Yes, Saturn does restrict and Jupiter does expand. So there would be a tug of war happening between the expansion of Jupiter and the conservation and restriction of Saturn. But what's most important in a Parivartana tends to be the lords that are involved. So for you, because you are Tvashta, which is a similar place to Libra, this is happening in your 3rd house where Saturn is and your 5th house where Jupiter is. So we have a mutual exchange, a Parivartana, between the 3rd house and 3rd house of Bhaga and the 5th house of, the 3rd house of Amshu and the 5th house of Pushan. So 3rd and 5th lords, Saturn and Jupiter. Let's take a quick peek at what we can see here. So I just want to make sure that, again, it doesn't hurt for me to, the theory is important here. So again, in Vedic astrology, we're very big on the whole sign house system. Whole sign houses means that the whole sign of Libra is your 1st house. The whole sign of Scorpio is your 2nd house. The whole sign of the 3rd house of Sagittarius is the 3rd house. And that means that whether it's at the 1st degree or the 29th degree, it's all the 3rd house. Everything falling into Amshu. Everything falling into Bhaga is the 4th house. Everything falling into Pushan is the 5th house. And the houses do carry over. So yes, the 5th house is related to children in this system. And you're going to find when we read a little bit about children, when we read about this yoga, we're going to find that there's a bit of a pushiness when it comes to children. Because the 3rd house is a pushy house. And the third house is almost, it has Mars for a Karaka. It's where we push to make space for ourselves. It's where we strategize. It's where we say hard things that we need to say. So it's like when we're dealing with siblings. Your siblings might even be involved with your children in some way. The whole house. You've studied tropical astrology for several years. Very good, Sprinkle. Awesome. So the houses are the same in the Adity's zodiac, which means you probably recognize that you've got Saturn, Pluto, and Mars in your third house, and that you've got Jupiter and, what is it, Neptune in your fifth house. This is probably not news to you. The Moon and Jupiter are basically in a trine together, which is a nice thing for the both of them. Quite a nice trine happening there, all things considered. So, Sprinkle says, your firstborn passed away, and your second child's father kidnapped him 6 years ago. So that's definitely an example of this kind of trickiness that we could see happening with your fifth house and with children. And that's tough to hear, Sprinkle, my dear. Thank you for sharing it with us here on this channel. It's always helpful when we see stuff that you've gone through. I'm always open for you to be sharing anything that you're experiencing. And that's tough. What you're experiencing, what you're talking about there is pretty tough. You know, to have Pluto with Saturn and Mars, really just having Pluto with Saturn and Saturn ruling the fifth house and fourth house. This is an indication of this kind of toughness that we see going on. And Pluto is amplifying it and exacerbating it. It's also relevant that the Sun is trine to the Saturn as well. So this Saturn is getting hit with these agitating influences. Although Saturn isn't knocked out in this chart. Saturn is not absolutely taken out in the Lajtadi Avashtas. You yourself have the ability to be strong and to get what you need to get through. You've never known how to see it in Western, and you knew it would be visible here. One thing about Vedic is how much deeper it goes, and you're assuming the other one you speak of is similar, right? So this Aditya is based on tropical Vedic astrology theory. It's just using different symbols, the Aditya symbols. So it sounds like we're on to something that would be relevant to you, Sprinkle. Now, when we read a Parivartana yoga like this, it can be seen as being, there's some difficulty here. It can be seen as there would be expressions of extremes of goodness when it's there and extremes of difficulty when it's there. For example, in this yoga, we have the third lord, which is a difficult house, and the fifth house, which is a good and important and benefic house. The fifth house is in trine with our nature. You as a Tvashta person, you have Tvashta. Tvashta is in a trine with Pushan. So these are like air signs. And since you are an air sign as Tvashta, you're going to have a harmony with Pushan, with the ninth house. Oh, excuse me, with the fifth house. And so the fifth house energy is a goodness. And you have Jupiter in your fifth house. There's goodness there. But it's being tied in with the third house. And the third house is testy, it's aggressive, it's restless, it has a restless mind. And the restless mind is probably what's giving difficulty with children and with that fifth house. And also the way that you engage with the fifth house with romance is going to be indicated here as having some muckiness because of this restless third house energy. So let's take a peek here. This is what's called a Kala Parivartana Yoga. The word Kala typically means K-H-A-L-A. Not Kala as in time, but Kala, what it typically means is, I'm not going to have the word for it in the way I want to find it. It's one of those ones that I usually can't find. If I can't find it, I'm not going to chase it. Yeah, that's okay. It's because we have the involvement of the third lord that this has a bit of a Kala energy to it. Romances would bring in a little bit of this kind of difficult energy. Oh, Robbie's got me cluing into something here. The 5th and 6th lords. Ah, yes. Technically, you are right, Robbie, that the 6th lord, because Jupiter rules Amshu and Parjanya. That's the 3rd house and the 6th house. But it's happening between the 3rd and 5th house. You're right, though. The 6th house, Jupiter is the 6th house lord falling in the 5th house. So there is a bit of that energy. But this reading is going to focus on the exchange between the 3rd and the 5th lord. So here we have to understand the lords are in a mutual 3 and 11 relationship. So that's because, as we can see, Saturn is here. Jupiter is in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd house from Saturn. And Saturn is in the 11th house from Jupiter, right? We have Jupiter falling into Pushan. Saturn is 2 signs behind it in the 11th house from it. And Jupiter is 2 signs ahead of Saturn. So Jupiter is in Saturn's 3rd house. Saturn is in Jupiter's 11th house. And so there's a 3rd, 11th relationship energy coming from this reading. Because the 5th house is involved, there's goodness, but the 3rd house and the 3rd, 11 relationship brings in this agitating energy. There's a desire for an enjoyment. There's a desire, there's an ecstatic energy. There's a hunger to get a certain experience. And this can mess with the 5th house when it comes to children, when it comes to romance, when it comes to using your intelligence. So this is a mixed result yoga. And they flow easily into manifestation, with generally positive effects for your siblings especially, but somewhat negative effects for your children. We see the goodness of the 5th house is helping the 3rd house of siblings, but the difficulty of the 3rd house is messing with the 5th house of children. This person, we could see, could be described as mentally restless and always thinking of doing something. There's signification here. It's worth considering that sometimes, again, these are painted and they just paint it to the extreme. And it's up to all of us individually to kind of pick the pieces that we see in this reading. So Saturn is technically moving into Taurus. In this Aditya cycle, it's moving into Aryaman, which relates with Taurus. And that is going to bring it into where your natal Mercury is. It's coming away from your natal Venus and Sun and moving into your 8th house. So now Saturn is transiting up the chart, right? Saturn is now, it's been in the sign of Data. Now it's moving into your 8th house and climbing up your chart, which is going to bring you more into the above sphere. The world is going to start to tug on you to enter the world outside of your private life. Now again, talking about the 3rd and 5th Lord Parivartana Yoga. There is mental preoccupations with certain things. One of these things is sex. Because of a mental preoccupation with sex, and this is a 3rd house hunger, your practical intelligence sometimes sinks to a lower plane. Due to a propensity for being easily distracted. There's almost like an ADHD-ish energy here. This will also make meditation difficult. This is the agitation of the 5th house through the 3rd house. But on the other hand, you probably greatly enjoy games or pastimes that require mental or digital dexterity, like fingers. So you probably enjoy card games, chess, backgammon, crossword puzzles, or craft work. You know, this is an ADHD mind that enjoys being occupied, especially with your fingers, with your hands, with dexterity. But it's also good to be aware of how this mental, I want to be doing something energy can get you especially romantically involved with these games that you play with people. Tricky thing is that, you know, for example, when you were younger and you were going through your Venus period, it's possible that you might enjoy almost a sexual tension and a romantic tension from people who you play these games with. And it might frustrate your partners because your partner will like to do these games with you as well. And to have fun with the sexual tension, and there's almost a brother-sister tension can bring out positive sexual tension with you and your loved one and with your partners. It's good to be aware, and you despise games. No kidding. That's interesting. We could see probably because Saturn and Mars are in this third house, there's an agitation there. So I wouldn't be surprised if you found yourself, games in that department. Okay, so you mean games as in card games and stuff like that? I'm assuming that's what you mean. Games in relationships is its own thing. What I see happening here is that you probably enjoy a bit of this sexual tension with people where you are doing something together. Games in relationships. Okay, sorry for the confusion. It's good that you don't enjoy doing these kinds of games where you're playing with a person's head. Although it's interesting that you don't like it when someone else is doing those relationship games. It's a bit confusing here because, you know, let's say cards, Monopoly, no worries. You know, when we're talking about the third house can relate to cards, poker, Monopoly, solitaire, doing these sort of card activities with other people, crafts. And these are activities that we can share with other people where you might enjoy keeping your mind and your fingers occupied with these kinds of activities for yourself and with people in general. This is the third house energy, and the fifth house energy is intelligent with these kinds of activities. You might be good at those games, like, you know, the ones you play on TV where you have to see who's lying, see who, activities. You know, I'm going to use the word activities for now. Playing these activities with other people where who's the liar? Or, you know, games, you know, activities where you write something on your head and you have to try to guess. You have to make the other people guess the one on their head, but you also have one on your own head. You know, those kinds of activities, charades, these sorts of things are probably things that you enjoy with people. Now, and there might even be a romantic tension that you experience when you explore these activities with people. What would be interesting and probably tricky is that when you have a partner, if you do these activities with them, you'll enjoy that romantic tension. You probably have a bit of that romantic friendship, sexual tension with anybody that you do these kinds of activities with. And it might cause sexual frustration in your partners. There might be sexual frustration that comes from how you enjoy spending time in these sorts of activities with other people. So there can be jealousy, also possibly you being jealous when your partner enjoys activities with other people in this way. Because you might associate it with sexual tension in yourself. And then you see, you know, maybe your boyfriend was going and playing poker with a bunch of people and you weren't invited. And you were worried, you know, Janine is going to be there with Stephanie and they're playing. And what if my boyfriend plays cards with Janine and Stephanie and there's might be a sexual tension going on with them, and you want to be there and you get all perhaps nervous that kind of thing might be happening. So this is the kind of the energy that can happen with this third and fifth lord crossover. Now, with this third, fifth house energy, you might find this is a person who's courageous and prepared to take risks intellectually and physically. This favors careers such as engineering, physics, military service, or anything requiring a technical turn of mind. Now I saw you're saying that you have a... Okay, so this might be something that you're going to grow through as time goes on. Right. Because we all, especially when we're younger, these kind of insecurities can be very common for everybody. It's expressed as this yoga, but you would be moving through it and dealing with it better as time goes on. Especially because it's involved with Jupiter and Saturn. Time is going to help you feel especially secure about these things. Jupiter and Saturn are more about time because they're so far out in the zodiac. So you might be a person who's good with... I do a lot of work to not have issues that revolve around sex in my marriage. Good. Awesome. That would be very important because there's a romantic energy and a tension and a sexual tension that can even come from talking and fighting with a partner. You're somebody who can have that fight and make up sex. So, you know, this isn't a bad thing. This isn't something that would break a relationship or anything like that. Relationships, we could see them being important to you. Especially when the Rahu and Ketu are working through Bhagha and Varuna. You have the nodes in the same position as the last reading that we did. So Ketu is in basically the sign ruled by Capricorn, which is Bhagha, and Rahu is in Varuna, which resonates with Cancer. Cancer and Capricorn are earth and water signs. So with water signs, gravity goes down, water and earth signs. Almost every long-term relationship that you have had, that they have cheated. Remember that when we have involvements of any kind of yoga in our own chart, especially with one like with the 5th house that involves other people, our own energy is going to pull us into the energies of other people. So and I'm sad to hear that you've in your relationships that you've had this experience. It could be a tough thing, and it takes self-confidence in oneself. Cheating is a yucky energy, and it can come from yogas like this. You know, this kind of sexual frustration, going unaware, unconscious, and springing out through us and our partners. Now, it's worth noting that as time goes on, relationships are going to be probably a key theme for you. Especially because we have the South Node. Again, sorry, I got to make sure I have this down. The South Node is in the 4th house. And that's Saturn. And that South Node in the 4th house of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, is involved in this type of thing where we can find this sort of cheating energy. So, it's worth noting and regarding in yourself that this might be a theme. The themes of, you know, feeling good after quite a bit of internal work. I'm glad to hear that. I realized it was not your fault based on their own issues that don't involve you. And there's always internal work that needs to be done in this regard. Because it's good to know how an insecurity being caused by Saturn in your chart. You're somebody who has, again, the South Node in the 4th house, ruled by Capricorn. So that's going to show a need to find inner peace and to be happy at home in your private life. To be happy with the people closest to you and around you. To the people who you come home to and you have this personal, private relationship with. And this will require you to make peace with the South Node in the 4th house, to make peace with your private life. And there's a signification of having the node, the South Node, in this 4th house with Uranus there, There's a need to make peace with one's mother. There's a need to make peace with your ancestry. You might find that you have a bit of, perhaps, this can be somebody who has a bit of, we all have K2 somewhere. So we're all going to have a little bit of insecurity somewhere. I could talk about yours. If you saw mine, I've got my own insecurities as well. So does everybody else. Now, insecurity, there's a paradigm where I need to have peace in this realm. And for you, it's the South Node in the 4th house, in the sign of Pugha, which resonates with Capricorn. So Pugha has this, it's this place where we need to be solid in ourselves. It's Saturnian and feminine. It's what do I have that's of value? What do I have that makes me feel good? And what do I have that can solidify my relationships? Truly forgiving her every day of your life. Amazing, Sprinkle. It's awesome that you have the right attitude when it comes to... It seems like you've already obviously been doing astrology for a while, so you've known that you have the South Node in the 4th house. And obviously you probably psychically intuit that there's work to be done with you and your mother in the bottom of your chart. It's feeling at home in yourself. Feeling like, just like a crab brings its home wherever it goes and is happy wherever it goes. You have to feel at home in yourself. You have to feel like you're living the life that you dream about, that you envision when you think about the life that you want to have. Now, in your chart, we can see it is currently, let's see, in 2026, you're going to be turning 42 soon. You will be pretty much going through your Rahu maturation soon. And that's Cancer, that's your 10th house, and that relates to the moon. And so it is going to be important for you to embrace this 10th house matter of being at peace in your career. This is probably what life is bringing you to right now. So Sprinkle, it's likely with the South Node in the bottom of the chart, up to age 36, you've been experiencing a very quiet life, an isolated life by yourself, and it's where your relationships are such an important thing. And it's awesome to have that gratefulness and thanks, Sprinkle. It's good to be aware, especially because you have, again, your Swamsha is Vishnu, which relates to Scorpio. And what we say about Scorpio is that it has poisoned mother's milk. Because Scorpio and Vishnu, this is the place where the moon is debilitated. And so we have to make peace through this Vishnu energy with exactly what life gives us. We have to make peace with our soul. But it feels like that's why Vishnu is related to this Aditya place where the moon is debilitated. It's a place where we learn that solidity and safety and that the universe has our back. So there's a feeling almost of mistrusting people. Of, with Scorpio energy, because you have Vishnu Swamsha, which relates with Scorpio, you might feel like whenever you're nurtured by somebody, whenever you get the breast milk of life, of love from another person, you might feel like, oh, this person could abandon me. This person could screw me over. Which means I don't want to have that goodness from them. I don't trust loving them that deeply. This trust in love would probably come from a deep place of the mother again. Of the feeling like I didn't fully trust my own mother. My own mother didn't fully trust herself. Good. The universe is on our side, and the universe is teaching us to receive what it gives. And this especially would be coming through other people. The moon relates to the moon really relates to Krishna in a lot of ways. Abandonment issues, right? So it's the feeling of being abandoned, feeling that you could leave me, especially again with what we've seen with this Parivartana yoga. There's an unconscious feeling that someone might leave us for someone else, possibly someone who's more intelligent, more capable. There's an insecurity with the mind here of, am I intelligent enough to be romantically interesting? And there's probably a competitiveness. I want to feel like I'm just as romantically interesting as everybody else. And especially this might stop you from letting people in and loving you for all that you are, including your darkness. Because you might have some darkness in you, Sprinkle, just like we all do. And you need to be loved for your darkness, for your mistrust. You need to communicate with your partners in relationship and say, these are these feelings that I have. These are this mistrust that I can feel. There's an insecurity, again, coming from the feminine and goddess energy inside yourself, where you might feel like, my mother didn't love herself and trust herself. And now there's a part of you that you might be antagonized by. Awesome. I'm glad that you have been working these things out, Sprinkle. And it's good not to compare yourself to others. But remember, it is good to see inside yourself beyond comparing others. And seeing what parts of me might I have walls up and defenses up where I see yeah, for sure. There would be pain because it would trigger a little bit of this abandonment complex. So all of the pain of the ending of a relationship, the venom that comes when you leave a relationship, this might have piled on in you to the point where it feels like it's very yucky when you start to feel a split in a relationship, which happens. Relationships happen. They're natural. And when we go through relationships, it's okay to feel them out. I'm looking at, we have a Mercury that's a little bit starved by the moon here. Mercury is what allows us to share in relationships without there being too much agitation. Venus is also agitated by the sun in this chart in the 7th house. So there's a little bit more indications here of there being agitated communication in relationships. And again, this mistrust that comes from the Vishnu Swamsha. It's okay to be crippled by these feelings, Sprinkle. But what I would invite you to do is to explore how relationships can be an important way of you letting go of the mistrust that has been given to you by your mother. The self-mistrust is where it actually comes from, because it's not other people that you mistrust. It's you being put in a position where you can fail. And you can have a finger pointed at you and saying, you didn't do this, and now I'm unhappy. But partners have to do this. There's our alarm for the moment, but I want to finish this with you, Sparkle, because we're in a good spot here to be where we're at. If you feel you trust too much, this is probably playing on the same dark theme of Scorpio, which means it's possible then that you give yourself completely to a person even when they have red flags, even when they take advantage of you, even when they, again, there's this theme that we're all moving through with Tvashta, which is building relationships that are reciprocal. You see, the lunar eclipse right now is happening in the signs of Tvashta and Data. And that's your 1st and 7th house. You've got some really good stuff happening with the full moon here. Ultimately, I have pretty good faith in this chart. But there would be some agitation in relationships. And the moon and the ascendant in this chart fall right on where the lunar eclipse is happening on March 3rd. So on March 3rd, The moon is going to be at 12 degrees of Tvashta, the Libra sign in this system. That's where your moon is. And there's an indication here, Sparkle. Got smacked in the face hard with that lesson just last week. Your guides want you to learn this lesson. Okay, good. I'm glad that we're cluing into something. The theme here is parasitism. Have the relationships that I've built caused me to have this experience where people are draining my energy, and I'm giving to them because I love to give. And this is a Tvashta person. You're a very Libra strong person, and you love to give to people. And this is a giving that's good in relationships. You have values. You know how to be charming and to do things to bring things together. And you also expect that out of people as well. You want others to appreciate the energy that you put into this Libra energy, this Tvashta energy, this mutuality in relationship. It's making sure they care about you as much as you care about them. And so two things can happen during this lunar eclipse, everybody. Especially if you have any planets happening in Tvashta, which is 12 degrees of tropical Virgo. It's 12 degrees of Tvashta. Tvashta relates with this Libra energy. It's building things together in a relationship, building things mutually. So you might feel you're putting in a lot into your work, into your bosses, into the people in your life, and you feel like they don't appreciate what you do. And you might feel like you're being drained like a parasite. This is especially the women in these situations tend to feel drained. And it stops you from doing what you want to do. It stops you from having the environment that you seek to have, the happiness that you seek in your personal and private life. And it also probably, for you, whenever things are messing up your personal and private life, it's going to mess with your career because you have the nodes on the 4th house and 10th house axis. And the moon is involved with that north node in the sign of Varuna, which resonates with Cancer. So there's a need here to take account of your communication and your relationships. Right. So it's important for you, Sprinkle, to make sure that you communicate in any relationships you involve yourself with. You talk with them about what do you expect in this relationship. What kind of fairness do you seek to have? What issues do you have? You as a person with this Vishnu Swamsha, this scorpionic energy, it's good for you to mention early on that I've been through these difficulties in relationships and I'm learning to understand them, learning to understand my shadow side, learning to open up to my vulnerability. This communication, it's when somebody's doing something and it frustrates you. You have to know that you are valuable in this relationship. Your happiness and peace is valuable in this relationship, which means they're not a mind reader. You have to communicate to them how you would like this relationship to go. They're not going to read your mind, and you should not get frustrated when they can't read your mind. Because the truth is that they want to make sure that there's mutuality. And as well, you might also find that the other way is true as well, which means we all have to also recognize when we're using this other person as an object. I have something to get out of you, yes? You have something in you that I want to get. And it's not necessarily a taking, but it can manifest this way. Again, if I'm a musician and I want to get with other musicians, so I meet this person and I find out they're a musician. It's like, hey man, let's be friends. Let's hang out. And if they find out, ultimately, I don't actually want to be their friend. I just want to use them as a musician. They'll find out, and it's whatever. It's not that big a deal. But it's nice when you're working with musicians that you all care about each other. You're actually looking for it to be a mutual relationship. And it's hard to see it, Sprinkle. It's hard to see it. I myself I would never treat people like objects. But I'm in a relationship in my life where the woman in my life had to remind me of when I didn't realize that I was treating her like an object, where I wasn't asking about what she wants in the relationship. I wasn't asking, I was just like, hey, listen, we want to go on a date? Okay, so here's the dates I have planned for us because I'm a good boyfriend and I'm going to make sure that I'm doing these things. Can't you see? I'm doing these things to make you happy, And it's all coming from me wanting to do it myself. I want to take you on a date so that you feel comfortable with me. And here's my plan. Here's my dates. Here's how I have a plan for a date. I'm planning on doing this for you. And all of this is coming from a place of I'm doing it for me. She helped me to understand that doing things for other people so that I feel good about it, it doesn't let them in. And it's hard to see when I'm doing it for you, but really it's a reactive thing that we're doing almost as a robotic instinct, because we know it's like we're like washing a fender. It's just like, I gotta clean my vehicle, I gotta oil my vehicle, and you do it almost robotically because you want to feel like you're getting as much as you can out of that relationship and vice versa. But it takes conversation. It takes asking the person, what do you seek out of this relationship? And when you ask that, you have to listen. We all have to do this in this lunar eclipse time. When we ask another person, what do you want in this relationship? We have to shut up. You know that thing when you're talking with someone and you're trying to say what you want to say? So they're talking, you wait for 5 minutes and you're kind of half listening to them. And once they've done their 5-minute spiel, you're like, okay, you're done talking now? Okay, so here's what I've wanted to say this whole time. And they're like, did you listen to anything I said? It's like, yes, but here's the thing that I wanted to say. And you weren't really listening. You have to let go of what was in your own head and your own plans for this relationship and listen and see where the other person is truly coming from. We all have to shut up and listen. We're all going to find these are happening with us. As well, we also have to make sure that the other person shuts up and listens to us. It's a tricky thing to convey. The power dynamics is really what this is involved with, this Tvashta Data energy. I need to do more for me, and I've literally taught myself to be selfish in healthy ways. That is good. That's some of the Aries energy, that Data energy, that would be good for you. But you are a person who's the sun Atmakaraka, and your sun is very strongly emphasized in this chart. So it is good for you as a woman to make sure that you're grounded in what is good for you and what you need, for sure. But it's also good for you to recognize and to even make a constant habit of it, of listening to the other person and making sure that everything we do in our relationship is coming from a place of, does this person really help me build on what I seek in my life? If they do, then you've got to receive them fully as they are. And it's like, you're playing Lego with somebody. One person's building a car, one person, active listening. Yeah, very good. One person's building a car, one person's building a house. So how are we going to make it so that we can enjoy this game of creating these things together, even if we're creating two different lives in some ways? This energy of reciprocal, mutual reciprocation, of making sure that I'm really in this relationship with you. You're not using me for an agenda that has nothing to do with what I'm building. And what that really takes is, what are you seeking to build? What are your values? What are you trying to build in this relationship? First you come from this place, then you communicate. This is what I seek for my life. Do you want to be a woman with kids? Do you want to be, a person where we spend a lot of time together, going on dates or seeing our friends, going to the cottage with our friends and playing cards with them? You know, is this the type of life you want to live? Do you also want to have time for you being an ambitious woman as a Sanat Makaraka for your own career? You know, you have to make space for yourself for what you want. The only thing you seek from others is love. Well, Sprinkle, this makes sense. But the layers of the love that you get to experience with people is going to be dependent on how you communicate the dream that you are seeking to live. Love is going to be should be at the center of everybody and everything. And we are love. But that doesn't mean that we can't be specifically communicating on how we want our love and our time to be managed with each other. Love should be at the center of everything. But love becomes tricky when we begin to neglect our own destiny. Especially you, as a Sanat Makaraka person, Sprinkle. It's important for you to love yourself and to understand what you're trying to build. And then it's good to expect love in a relationship. But that love has to come from with the responsibility of nurturing how love works in humanity. And that requires communication. That requires steadfast emotional hygiene. I'm glad that you choose love, and that is definitely the right place to go. But it's also good to have a consciousness of the multifaceted ways in which relationships can manifest. If a partner comes to you and explains, I'm having this problem, and you see it as coming from fear or something that's not love, you're going to see it as a problem. But maybe that person isn't coming from just fear or love. They're just coming from, I need to communicate this to you. And there's something that I need to say, and I don't want you to react too much. I just need to communicate to you. And sometimes people communicate with us, and it's not so black and white. It's just simply hearing how the person expresses this thing. To come from love in that is a good thing. But sometimes what they're asking is for us to change. It's to transform something we've been doing. That's okay. It's all right to have intense emotions. You know, your moon, especially because you've got the North Node in Cancer, in Varuna, which resonates with Cancer. It's good for you to open your emotions and to be this emotional person, especially Vishnu Swamsha, that's Scorpio energy. There's an intensity there, and honestly, honey, I bet the people who are in relationship with you, they probably love it, because it's beautiful when it's good. Everyone loves a little Scorpio. It's that like intense, like, you know, that intense, like snake-like constriction of that deep, passionate love. We love Scorpio for that. But the venom is just as pungent as the sweetness, as the Amrita, when it comes to Scorpio. And that's okay. All that means is that when things get intense in the negative way, if you really want to have a true relationship, you have to build that relationship on 4 legs in a way that's going to allow it to be strong when these intense negative forces appear in a relationship. You have to have your own happiness built. You have to have your vision for your life. You have to have friends in a spider web outside of just you and your partner. So when things are intensely positive, it's all good. But when things are intensely negative, which they will be with this scorpionic energy, it has to be. If it's strong on one end, it has to be strong on the other. And if that's the case, you have to build a strong life for yourself. You have to have your own Saturn. You have to have your own independence, your own emotional independence, financial, physical independence. You have to have your own stuff strong in this way so that you can then relate in the relationship without getting triggered, without it becoming angry, without there being too much agitation. It's likely the case with you have Sun and Venus conjunct each other. There's going to be times where you try to bring things to the relationship and say, look, I'm a good girlfriend. I'm bringing these values. I'm giving you this happiness. I'm putting on this dress and we're going out on a date and we're having this fulfillment. That's drinking the water. That's the feminine joy experience. There's going to be times when Venus does that and it swallows your sun, which means I can't focus on my career as much because I have to take care of my relationship. Then there's also going to be times where you focus okay, now I've done enough we've done enough ooey gooey kissy kissy, I love you, I love you. We've done enough of that. Now I want to focus on my career. And you go into your career and you find your career is a bit stale because you've spent so much time in this intense scorpionic love energy. Now you're trying to go into your career. I got to jumpstart my career again. And now you put so much energy into the sun, your career, now Venus is starting to dry up. This is what happens when Sun and Venus. The Venus dunks the sun in the water and makes it wet. And then our career and masculine energy and ambition is reduced. Then the sun dries off until the point where the sun gets so dry that it burns the water of Venus. It's myself and my choices. And I've accepted and am more okay with that. You do have control only over yourself and your choices. But in a relationship, you have the ability to communicate, to ensure that you are being met with equal interest in this relationship. You can't control a relationship, but you can maneuver it with reciprocation, with communication, with listening, and with intelligence. Your masculine energy needs to be balanced with the feminine water. You need to communicate in your relationships to say, sometimes I'm an ambitious bitch who needs to go and only work on my career. And then, I mean that in a positive way, you know. You're an ambitious woman person who needs to go and put all this emphasis into your career. And then you have to come back and say, okay, it's been a little while since we've gotten juicy and had some communication with Venus and brought it together in a joyful way. These two are going to agitate each other. And you have to explain this in your partnership so that your partners understand that you're not always going to be there for the ooey gooey kissy kissy, I love you, I love you. You're going to be intense when you get it because you don't get it all the time. This is the thing with Venus starved by the sun, is that Venus isn't constantly enjoying life and drinking the water. So when it does drink it, it goes gulp, 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 and gets this intense joy. And it's like, okay, I'm full. Now I'm going to go and do my career again for a little while. So that intensity is part of who you are. You have to explain that to your partners. Because there's going to be times where your partner is, you know, lusty and wants to have that experience with you, but you can't because you're in career mode. And to make sure to make those inroads so you don't get so isolated from your partner's sexual energy and then get frustrated and insecure when your partner starts feeling like they aren't getting sexually or emotionally satisfied from you. Right? There's a lot here, Sprinkle. But you have been a good listener, and I do believe at this age, life is pushing you, especially while this lunar eclipse is happening. My voice is reverberating. Never said no to sex one time in any relationship. Well, it might be good for you to be conscientious of how to find that balance. You know, it's not to say, you know, even saying no to sex is one thing. But to make sex and emotional intimacy available on a balanced way. Again, because there's going to be times where you can't always be there to say yes to sex and to have an emotional, intimate moment. You can't be there all the time for that because you're this ambitious person. On the other hand, there's going to be times where you are there and now your partner's drained because you're so ready for sex because you've been staving off for a long time, so you're ready to have a big banger, and your partner, it's too intense for your partner. Your partner can't, you know, they feel deeply consumed and almost used because now it's like, okay, now it's time for the sex thing. Okay, no more sex thing for a little while. Okay, now it's time for the sex thing. The partner's going to feel like, you know, like I have to get used to your rhythm, but it's hard for you to hear when I want to have it. You know, it's one thing to be there for sex. It's another thing to communicate and say, when feels good for you to have sex? When feels good for you to go on a date and to have an emotional, intimate relationship? It's probably going to frustrate you to have that conversation because now it's out of your control. Now you have to swing to the other person's rhythm, which is going to mess up the rhythm you've built between your enjoyment and your career. It should be tough. If it's not tough, then you're not doing the work. To find that balance. And Sprinkle, I think you can do this work. I'm glad to hear that you're a psychologist. You've been talking to me, and you see where I'm at here. In a relationship. Good. Awesome. Again, it's one thing to have a ramped up sexual energy. It's another thing to communicate about it. Men can be very insecure with an intensely sexual woman who doesn't talk about how good things feel. You know, a man could easily feel like almost possibly he can't even keep up with you. Or he feels drained because of the way you can be with sex. These are all the kinds of things that can happen with this energy, with the eclipses that are happening right now, that's happening on your moon, and with the nodes in the 4th and 10th house axis through Pugha and Varuna, which is Capricorn and Cancer energy. So finding this balance is a good thing for you to move through. And let me know, Sparkle, if this talk cracked through you in a way that you want to delve deeper into. You can always contact me. And for anybody who's been watching, you know, we've had quite a few people here hanging out with us live. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Now, let's give a nice big hand to our friend. Our session is over with Sprinkle, so thank you, Sprinkle. Get a nice Dumbledore clap. Golf clap. Didn't know what to do because you didn't want to sleep around. I get it. Awesome, Sprinkle. I'm so glad that I got to do this Aditya's Circle reading for you. Great job. Thanks for being a part of it and speaking the whole way through, giving us a little window into your consciousness, and for helping us to explore what these lunar eclipses mean for us. Remember, everybody, the lunar eclipse is going to be happening in about 3 days or so on March 2nd. It's going to be a Tuesday, and it's a lunar eclipse in the sign of Tvashta, which is tropical Virgo. If you got any planets there, think about how you can be mutual in relationships so that they're both sustainable for both people. They're a rocker right now. They're tough. They're bringing out a lot of crazy shit with a lot of people that I know, including myself. My whole life is changing. This Aditya's thing is happening for me. There's lots going on for everybody. So, for everybody watching, I hope that you've enjoyed this. And I'm going to... Now, again, I'm going to throw my PayPal in here. I appreciate everybody for being a part of my show. That's the most important thing for me. And ideally, as well, I'm going to put this in here. Astrology at dustincormier.com. If anybody's interested, I am doing discount eclipse readings right now. It's $25 for a half an hour, and then $45 for the power hour. So feel free to email me at astrology at dustincormier.com if you are interested in doing one of these eclipse readings with me. Especially, we're going to be moving ideally through the Adityas, but you know, get in touch with me. This is the way I want to move, is into this Adityas world. But I'm open to whatever anybody wants to do when I do a session. So feel free to email me, or feel free to drop me a tip for watching. And as well, if anybody wants to join this YouTube channel membership, you're going to get a chance at getting a reading on the second reading we do when we do these readings. For now, it's been a long one, folks. Let's go get some lunch. It's 2 o'clock where I am, and I'm ready for some food. Thank you for everybody who's watching. Thank you all for supporting me on my channel. I've always had a group of people who are here, and hanging out even when I do something like this expansion that I'm moving into. The world is changing in my viewpoint, and I appreciate having you guys always here to be a part of it with me. Having my team means a lot to me. Nice to see you, Teresa. We've had Maui Logic here. We've had Monica. We've had, oh yeah, Hosianov. It's nice to have you here, buddy. Of course, Robbie Chaudhry is always here with us. And that's been mostly our crew today. We've also had some people also up here. There's someone I was going to say. Oh, yes. That's okay. So I'm glad to have shared this with you all. The Aditya expansion, I'm glad to hear that you guys are rolling with it. Let's call her a day, folks. The next reading we're going to do is going to be the second Thursday of March. That's going to be March 12th, coming up here, 2026. And I'm going to be putting stuff out along the way in the meantime. Keep your eyes on the skies. And thank you, everyone, for being a part of this with me. Zoe Frank, nice to see you. Thanks for joining in as well. I'm in touch for anything, folks. Take care. Again, feel free to email me for any more future concerns. And thank you so much